Beautiful divine masculine and feminine darlings. This is the Seraphim Gypsy, SeraFae Indigo Empress, and Shiloh Horizon. I don't plan to be here for too long, but I do have some channels and a reading to do. But let me jump into these channels first. I'm hearing, I think it's by Haley Steinfeld. She says, "You're a difficult little devil trying to crawl back into my bedroom or crawl back through my window," or something like that. And this seems like it's referencing an ex trying to get back through. It's an unwanted situation. It seems like a karmic or fallen masculine trying to get access to a divine feminine again. That's one issue. Secondarily, my OGs here know that I don't name drop. When people are nasty, they typically will be avoided altogether because I don't let people chase clout off of my name. But when they get nasty enough to the point where I have to address a situation, yeah, see, that's funny. A karmic saying, "Yeah, well, even bad press is good press. Bad publicity is still publicity." Yeah, that's not it though. Because those same people who are trying to say that now are the same ones that freak out when people see their true character and the reputation that they tried to build for themselves by pretending to be good people when they weren't, or pretending not to be bad people when they were, is crumbled. So there's that. Interesting. So when it gets to the point where they cross the line and I have to address a situation, it's at the point where they don't want their names mentioned in it. And this is one of those cases where the property manager from next door, named Jennifer Bartlett, has been refusing to do her job consistently. Wouldn't surprise me if she specifically put this crappy neighbor next door, knowing very well that it was a crappy neighbor because, well, these people had a vendetta against me before this person moved in, and it was just another one in the mix of the same toxic group. Now, Jennifer Bartlett is, last I knew, married to, I think, Matt Bartlett, and he is running the fire department, and that is in the same building as the police department where these crooked cops have been. And they both have some kids, a couple of kids, and those kids were, or at least one of them was friends with some, or one of my cousins growing up that I do not have contact with, because these are people who chose to support and enable people who have been abusive. And if you're okay with people being abusive towards people who claim to love, you obviously don't love us very much. And, well, we're okay without you, right? You just picked the wrong team. There's no neutrality in abuse. When they picked people who were being toxic, they said that they were okay with people being abusive. They wouldn't have liked it if it was towards them, but as long as it was towards us, it was all right with them. And they told the people who were being abusive that they were perfectly fine with us being abused. And often that makes those types of people feel emboldened in their choices, and they start getting worse. They start upping the ante. 422. So there's that. Now, this particular cousin is part of a church family, but it's that very hypocritical, blasphemous, fake Christian, Bible-thumping kind. Usually goes one of two ways: Catholic, toxic Catholic, or those Christians who feel like they're better than people, but those are the same people who are misjudging and abusing and bullying people, outcasting people who are more like Jesus than they are. And they're outcasting people in many ways for the same types of things that they outcasted Jesus for, all high and mighty with their religious piety, false piety at that. Yeah, I hear false confidence. I'm getting a flash of a quote about Jesus not being a mascot for the wealthy or the powerful. If Jesus were to be born in the era of the Salem witch trials, he'd likely have been hung or burned or drowned instead of stoned and crucified with a crown of thorns upon his head. But it was a similar context. He also very well could have been seen as a white witch in that era. They would have persecuted him nonetheless. So back to the Bartletts. They have not been doing anything about the problems from the lease violations, the harassments, the financial damages that were caused, the injuries that were caused on any level, whether it be to family, pet, or human life. Just full out disregard for the well-being of others and human life, among other things. At least roughly 6 lease violations as a whole, from having her animal try to attack mine, to putting up spite fences, to the sleep deprivation tactics, light pollution issues. She tried to sublease her apartment when she first moved in. I mean, like, pretty much almost all of the no-nos that you have when you sign up for a lease, she's already violated them. And that would be grounds to remove somebody at that point, but since they've been grimy and not doing their jobs, they've allowed it to still be an issue. Now, Jennifer Bartlett told me that those lights would be taken down, permanently removed on January 1st, but here we are on the 6th, and they've been on for about 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours straight. And this shouldn't be a problem or a topic at all at this point, but you see, with the Bartletts all tied into that group, these people who are fake pious, who misjudge and target spiritual people because they think that they're superior. No, Jesus said things about witchcraft and psychics, and yeah, you know what? Jesus also said some things about not trusting the Pharisees, first of all. Right? Beware of those fake pious people, the Pharisees and the scribes. And also, you forgot about touch not mine anointed, do my prophets no harm. So there's that. So Jennifer Bartlett married to Matt Bartlett. Matt Bartlett running the fire department being connected in the same building as the police department, where you see there have been issues with dirty cops. And then there's the fact that on December 16th, 3 weeks ago, I got this friend request from somebody. I had a bad feeling about it. I didn't know who they were, but I knew it was sketchy. And then there was a receptionist at the police department last night who was being very rude. And I told her that having an attitude with me was not going to help her case or the cause. 9:22. But this morning I called back to make sure I had the name of who that was so I could add all of the information necessary to a report to the superiors. And as it turns out, this person who was rude to me that was answering the police's phone lines last night is the one who sent me a freaking friend request on Facebook 3 weeks ago, which is inappropriate and creepy. Gang stalking, being gang stalked by the inside of the police department. and I have evidence to prove it. In fact, some of the other police officers asked me for screenshots of it because they also thought it was inappropriate and weird, and I happily sent them over. Didn't take me very long. But you know what? Just before all of that was uncovered, I prayed. I made that phone call right after getting out of the shower this morning, and while I was in the shower, I prayed to God for anything that needed to be uncovered so that karmic situations could be finally put to rest once and for all. These cycles could be closed and we could move on. That it be uncovered so we could finish the cycles out. Dot the I's, cross the T's, so on and so forth. And then immediately after, I got this download to call and check, only to figure out that puzzle piece. Then I was just sitting here. I just got out of the shower again, actually. I got home a little while ago, had some things to do, and I just jumped in the shower. I'm doing my skincare right now, so the same kind of healthy cycle and pattern from this morning. I prayed this morning for any information that needed to be exposed, anybody trying to block pathways or, mess with people or steal from people or whatever it is, praying that it be exposed. And honestly, I kind of went into an automatic writing space. I was just sitting there thinking and meditating, and I got this little download, and I went to go look something up. It was in relation to myself. I went to pull up one of my own posts up, but I was kind of in autopilot mode, and I accidentally typed it into the wrong search bar. I put it into Google instead of the thing I was trying to find. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have, because I don't just Google myself or anything. I have no desire or interest to do that. Organically. Things find me organically, as you see here. Listen. So if I hadn't accidentally typed that into Google, I wouldn't have stumbled across a website that's claiming to be a holistic practitioner that has stolen my business name. They started this website just last year in 2024, where they have illegally taken my business name and that I've been using for years. Except for I have my copyrighted website that shows that I've had it and been using it for much longer. And I also made sure to cross-check when I was launching my businesses to make sure that there were no other establishments anywhere in the world with my business names, so that there was no issue like this for me. I wasn't breaching on anyone else, but because I knew that I've had past life cycles where people have tried to steal from me and then claim credit for my work, which actually came out in the reading the other day, yeah? Not just for me, but as a general reading, collectively speaking. But hello, here's a personal example. Because I knew that people have done that to me in a past life, I knew to expect that and brace and more specifically plan against that in this one. So because I made sure to check, and there was nobody with my username, my business names when I started using them, I also knew that while I wasn't encroaching on anybody's territory accidentally, if anybody suddenly popped up with a name that was my name, then they had been copying me, because I made sure to check, and I have been the only one until people started copying me. So it's not hard to prove. I've been waiting for this and prepared for this for a long time. But just so you know, prophecy fulfilling, they did try again, as the cards showed a few days ago. May have been yesterday or the day before. Anyway, I slightly digress. There's that. All of this playing out. Now, the reason I brought up all of the stuff from the plagiarism to the stuff with the Bartletts and all of that was because there was another receptionist, in fact, at the police department who was very rude. And interestingly enough, she was also Bartlett. I think it was the ex-wife of the fire chief or whoever that is. So his new wife's not doing her job to stop problems, and the old wife was causing problems, and they're all doing it together. Also, the cousins and the aunt that stole my inheritance, one of them is dating somebody who also works on the fire department. So like I said, they're all tied in with that. And these are people who went behind my back and allied against us with the same people who've been holding my child hostage and trying to slander both of us so that they could steal from us and then try to justify doing it. I just got a flash of Britney Spears. Yeah, kind of like that. Somebody says the conservatorship, kind of like that. Not quite the same way, but yeah, a little bit. In enough ways for it to count, and enough ways for it to be a problem, and enough ways for it to parallel, yes. Divine Masculine. Archangel Uriel says, don't worry, I'll get everything back. I know. And then some. Lots of divine protection, shields surrounding the light worker. 1602, I saw as I looked up at the clock a second ago as well. So there's that. See, I heard that. So they're all tied in with each other. Oh, yes. And they're all friends on Facebook and social media. And yep, unfortunately, this is a relatively small place. The population here, last I checked, which was a month or two ago, was like 5,000 just in this space. And that's not very much. So everybody thinks they know everybody, and everybody thinks they know everybody's business, and they might know aspects of people from observations from the outside or maybe gossip that they hear, but that doesn't mean that they know people. However, they speak about people like they do, and they behave and they treat people as if they do, and then they, I don't know, they try to justify it. It's very common, immature small town behavior, and the majority of the people that are like that, they click together. They don't have anything else to do. They're stuck in these low vibrational small town spaces, and so they're not wanting other people to. I've hearing something about some of them feel like they couldn't get out of this town or these areas, so they didn't want other people to. It's so weird, so weird. And then you know what another thing is? I've also had somebody from one of the next towns over, because it's a small space still, who's pretty much old enough to be my mother, in fact. Not pretty much, who is old enough to be my mother, in fact. And she is a very competitive person, like made a point to do competitions and things like that in her life. Would coach people. She would coach people in certain types of sports or something. And the team that she would coach was often the rival team to the one at the high school that I went to, so I had nothing to do with that. But I have been picking up for the last few years that because she's from a different, or a town or two over, and because the team that she used to coach is the same team that the high school that I went to, well, remember, she's old enough to be my mother, the team that she used to coach as an older person was often the rival team of the high school that I went to. And so it's like she, you know how sometimes if you have sports teams at different schools that are beefing, like they have a beef, it's one town against the other, one town's sports team, one school's sports team against the other. It's like she has that mentality. I'm from one town, she's from the other. She used to coach people that were from that town, and they used to compete with people from the town that I'm standing in right now. And so she has this weird, it's giving like weird Mean Girl Regina George thing. I don't know, it's weird. It's just weird, creepy. I heard that. We're not in high school. Yeah, I agree. I think it's weird and creepy. But anyway, I could say more. I will tell you one more thing. When I was in 4th grade or so, there were some dance instructors from a studio in a different town, a few towns over, and they came in and taught choreography, hip hop choreography for a few days. And it was just another way to introduce a different type of like workout routine to the students. And so they split the gym class that was pretty big in half, and half of the team learned one type of choreography, and half of the gym, or rather, not team, but half of the gym would learn the other bit of choreography. And then it was a mother and daughter team. One of them took one group and then one of them took the other. And then at the end of the 2 days where we'd practice these routines, we would perform. The first group would perform, not in competition, but then the second group would perform. And I don't know if they were actually recruiting or if I just didn't know that they were recruiting, but I was a child and they picked me out of the group because I picked up the steps quickly and well, and they asked my mom if I would be willing to take one of their classes just to see if I liked it. So I went up to the next town or so over, and I caught the last class of the season because they wanted to know, like, did I want to sign up for the next season? Did I like the class, etc. And because I guess picked up the steps at the tail end of the season in the very last class that was offered for the season, just as a trial period for myself to see if it was something I was interested in. I guess that I picked up the steps in that one session faster and more effectively than the students in the class had when they'd been there all season practicing and having all season to learn the routines. I picked it up in one day and they were stumbling over it still in the season. At least this is what the instructors told my mom when they, at the end of this singular class, not even simply asked me to join the next dance class season, but begged me to join the competition team. But my OG's here now, I don't like those. I'm not a competitor. The only person I'm looking to compete with is the person I was yesterday. Thank you. So the thing about that same person, that weird competitive person, that same dance studio that was trying to recruit me is the dance studio that weird competitive person that was trying to, like, old enough to be my mother, compete with me. That person paid that dance studio for 10 years. I'm sure pretty exorbitant amounts of money too. They paid this dance studio for 10 years to train them, and they wanted to be a professional dancer or something, and they failed. They were rejected when they asked, and they auditioned, and they failed. And the same dance studio that they paid for a decade to train them, and they still weren't good enough to find some kind of professional career in this, is the one that tried to pluck me out of a crowd. They wanted to recruit me. The person who's been trying to compete with me had to beg the dance studio to teach her, and she paid them to do it. And she still wasn't good enough, and I had such natural raw talent that they tried to recruit me repeatedly. So, pretty interesting when you understand the depth that these karmics will go to try to make people look a certain way because they're that insecure. But when you understand the backstory and how we legitimately just embody everything that they wish that they could be, or we remind them of their failures or whatnot, you understand why they went such depths and lengths to take such heavy low blows at us. We trigger their greatest insecurities. Our success makes them feel some kind of way about themselves. There's a karmic male who wants me to be quiet, and he wants me to feel spooked from speaking the truth. Like he wants to intimidate me into shutting up. It's not working. But you know what I do need? Some water. I hear a divine masculine say, "You're a beautiful girl," and then I'm hearing, who is that? You're a beautiful girl all over the world. So he says there are beautiful girls all over the world. They've got nothing on you, babe. So he's talking about people trying to get his attention. This is a divine masculine, but he's not interested. He says they're not you. They cannot compete where they could never compare. I think he's laughing. He says, I think it's funny that they're trying. They make a fool of themselves every time. They make you look better every time they try to make you look bad. Oh, that's funny. This guy's got vision. He says more than you know. No, I know. I picked up some stuff this morning. This is a divine masculine he's a visionary. He's more than a visionary, though. He knows how to bring the vision into fruition, okay? Like, bring it into form. Hold on. I am getting a vision of a deck, speaking of visionary. Yum. So there is this karmic energy is really wanting to spook divine feminine. I'm hearing. Hold on. I'll be right back. Yeah, there's a karmic female who's losing her marbles right now. That's what I was picking up, is that he was trying to soothe her by antagonizing divine feminine again, but now he's spooked that, well, I picked up something about how he spooked that I called it out before he even could figure out what his plan was. He basically was saying to the karmic female, watch this, I'll try some kind of tactic, I'm getting ready to instigate some kind of issue. And before he could even figure out what his plan was, I called it out, which spooks people when I stand here and I tell them or tell people what they're about to do before they've even figured out what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, especially when they're sitting there talking about it or discussing it, and then I call it out. Like, there's no way for me to do that other than just to authentically be picking up what I'm picking up, and they know that, and that spooks them. This is very likely somebody who tried to pull the, oh, she's a fake psychic smear campaign. But often these are people who try to be, right? They'll sit there and they'll talk trash about real practitioners, real gifted people, and they'll trash talk spirituality as a whole sometimes, but then they'll sit there and try to copy it themselves. Like, one of the intimidation tactics I was picking up from this karmic male was he said something to this karmic female like, watch this, I'll go try to spook the divine feminine, like oogly boogly. I'm like, you idiot. Ugh, you're so dumb.
And that's why I laughed, by the way. Right. That is funny. I told you. That's why I laughed while I was getting my water. That's funny. Hold on, I'll be right back. 7:02 here on the clock on the East Coast.
All right. Now that that's been appropriately addressed and established. Actually, hold on. I need a little bit more skincare. I'm going to go grab those decks. Yeah, I heard that. You're so good at what you do. I know. I will also be doing some Reiki. But let's pull some cards first. As far as the channels go in relation to these weirdos, these local narcissistic people, they're not special. They're just narcissists in the collective. They just happen to be local ones. So I know not everybody will be dealing with situations or people like that, and good. If you're not, that's great. I wouldn't wish that on people anyway. But if you are, know that you're not the only one, and we're all going to get through this. Keep going. Let's see. Okay. There's a karmic who's freaking out. And she's saying, Divine Feminine's going to get away with everything we did to her. So it sounds like to me they're upset because they know that their setup attempts failed. I hear we're going to be in trouble. This is what the karmics are saying, that they're going to be in trouble and they're going to go to jail for what they've done. There's a karmic male who's trying to laugh, but he's nervous. He's trying to deny it, but he's not delusional. He knows he's in trouble. Yeah, because I'm picking up the underlying energy. Even his parents are upset with him. I think he knows that. It seems like he knows that. He's just either in denial with himself or trying to deny it in regards to other people. But I already know. No, you don't. Okay. We're not playing that game. Let's see, they have no divine connection. Blocked crown chakra. That didn't really help. I like it better over there anyway. This should. Blocked crown chakra. Told you. I know. It's in reverse. Nobody's listening to them. Tell me about that. Something about trying to cause injury, either injury for people or something about burnout. But these people are numb, or they're trying to emotionally numb themselves, or they do with drugs and alcohol, which is why they're trying to affect other people. It's their own issues, low self-esteem. Some of these energies seem to be the same ones, yeah, from the dream prophecy bit that I picked up this morning. Yeah, look, they've got no support. But they're being cleared out of our lives and environments. Somebody's asking, are all those toxic people intertwined in the beginning of this live feed connected to the same dirty cops that I've had to call out over the last couple of days? You mean Jared Hardy, Liam Harrington, and what was his name? Nathan Formby? Yes. Same police department. And you know what I find quite stupid and ironic? Is the MDI police's mission statement is that they will... Let me pull this up exactly. It says that these police officers promise to ensure the rights, right, the protection of the rights of people's safety and peace and property and individual rights, that they will ensure basically healthy function of the society, and that they will make sure that they are doing their duties, and they will work on reducing crime, and that they will ensure the trust of both tourists, so people who are from out of state or not from here alike, and then also local civilians. But they failed. They failed. There are tourists that have uploaded videos on YouTube complaining about the cops here, and there are people that are local here, myself included, who've got plenty of bad stories to tell you about them with evidence to prove it. So there's that, on top of the fact that Formby was one of the cops who cost the department $62,000 in a lawsuit that was similar to one that I'll be filing, but not even close to as bad as the one that I have to file, unfortunately for them. Paralleled enough that I can use it as legal precedent, meaning it's so similar a judge can take it and then rule in my favor the way that they ruled in this person's favor, because not only were my rights violated like theirs were violated, my rights were violated more, and so was my minor child's. They can't stand to see you shine. Too bad. It's in reverse. They don't have a choice. They can't cause you to miss out on or lose opportunities, not with slander, not with attempts at blockages or anything like that either. This is what people wanted to cause, or they've been trying to cause people. Home issues, right? Stability in home environments. And it's not a secret that they stalk our socials for those of us who have them. It's also not a secret that they make fake accounts to do so or to comment from. These are people who, if not tried to cause issues with a vehicle, I just saw something about somebody popping someone's tires, flat tires, kind of like that, but that's a little different. But also somebody trying to mess with someone's either license, trying to have their license illegally frozen, or this could also be messing with their security. I just heard job security, but that could have to do with both. Really, if your job security is affected, that would possibly affect your ability to resource out transportation, yeah? So, see, this is an X, toxic X, or people around them, but they're all exposed. They're all exposed. These toxic people, I mentioned that in the beginning, that fallen masculine and, or karmic male, or both karmic male is, or fallen masculine rather, is a karmic male, but karmic males did not always start out as fallen masculine. Some of these karmic males were just karmic males. But the fallen ones didn't start out karmic. They chose to be nasty and stay nasty until God let them stay there and gave their... You don't get to mistreat your wife and then keep her, basically, is what God's saying. You don't get to promise to do your job and even take a sign-on bonus at your job and then not show up to do the job and then expect to be able to come back and have a job when you decide to walk back through the doors, or that the position won't have already been filled by somebody who will show up and do it right the first time, show up and be the divine masculine the first time, show up and treat her right the first time, let alone without being asked or coddled or bribed or begged or borrowed or any of those silly things that he wanted. Those chasing immature energies, we're not playing those games. You see, real women don't chase. We don't try to change a person, we just change directions. We don't get mad, we don't get jealous. That's what they're used to when dealing with karmics. We get turned off. It's a level of disrespect that's distasteful and we're not interested anymore. You turn us off. You know why they're trying to trigger that like reptilian brain in people? That fight energy where these karmics would rather fight for a person, even if they don't want the person. They'd rather, sometimes they just try to get a masculine that a divine feminine was interested in or contracted with, not because they really want him, like they'll have dudes on the side, but because they like the attention that they're getting from him, while he thinks that he's using the karmic to get attention because he wants divine feminine to chase him. And so the karmic feels important for a minute because the fallen masculine's giving her attention to try to get divine feminine's attention. But then he gets more upset when it doesn't work because the karmic behaves that way because she's karmic. However, divine feminine doesn't. He doesn't understand why she doesn't chase. In some cases, they take the divine feminine not chasing as, well, she must not be interested, because he's used to toxicity and this toxic fight trauma energy where if you're not chasing and fighting and screaming, it must not be love. But the thing about that is that was never love. They've got a confused sense of what love is or what should be, and we're maybe told that love is something that it's not, but that's not love. I don't know what you were taught or what you were shown, but I know that that's not love. Sounds like a trauma bond to me. So anyway, moving on. That seems to be the energy in one case that doesn't want to let divine feminine go or hasn't wanted to, but there are also karmic males, and in some cases the karmic males went to the fallen masculines and told them all kinds of slander about divine feminine, hoping that it would trigger him or his ego wounds, and instead of seeing through it or even checking with divine feminine to see if any of it was true, he would just take it and run with it, get mad at her for it, bully her with it, abandon her for it, add on his own gossip because he was so mad at her for whatever they told him. And often they told him like that she was with other people when she wasn't, or she was with them when she wasn't, or she was dating somebody when she wasn't. It was something to upset him because he cared about her or he wanted her for himself. So they said whatever they thought they needed to say to upset him and make him flip on her, especially out of ego. And he did. And then he stayed there. So he got cleared out of the way. but he didn't want to be let go. So he tried to not to let her go. Jealous of your material style, clothes. I just felt a solar plexus, sacral chakra, both pull, mostly the solar plexus, so they're trying to mess with people's money, creativity, stealing ideas. I mean, somebody just tried to create a website where they're trying to advertise some holistic practices, but they plagiarized even my business name. That's a no-no. That's a lawsuit. I just heard show cause. Show cause is a reference of a courtroom. If you have a show cause hearing, it's to either show evidence or show that you've got a case. And what this message is saying is that because I can prove that I started my business, I created and designed my business, including down to the names, and made sure that there were no others. And this person just recently, just last year, stole my work. It doesn't matter the timeline, but because I am the originator, yes, I can show what they did. I can prove what I'm saying, and therefore there's a case. Show cause. See, I just got out of the bath, and I wouldn't have, if I hadn't absent-mindedly, it was I wasn't even trying to type in what I typed in. I accidentally typed in my own username, and I was trying to type something into an entirely separate search bar, and it was just like autopilot. It was automatic writing, angelically, with the holy team. So one of Archangel Uriel's stones, actually, I've got that right here. I wouldn't have stumbled across that, but there's that too. So either way, it doesn't matter what happened. The problem is that this person has no business plagiarizing my business name. And because they have launched a business, because they have been trying to take clients with my actual name, and when people, I accidentally searched my own name and their account popped up, and this is somebody that's in a different country now. Yeah, see, they have no business doing that. Either they did not do their due diligence when creating their business name that they plagiarized from me, meaning they did not double check to make sure that they were not plagiarizing someone else's business name or stepping on somebody's toes or creating copyright infringement, in other words. So that's their liability legally. Or they did absolutely know that my business existed and they didn't care that they were stealing my name. And either way, legally, that's their problem and their liability, not my issue. They will have to pay me any damages for any business that was lost, for any money that they made off of my name. They're going to have to pay me for that, and they're going to have to shut down their business and also change their business name. But anyway, somebody asks, what country? Australia. That was not a good choice. They either did not do their due diligence to make sure that they were not copyright infringing other people, myself specifically in this case, 7:22 here on the clock on the East Coast. It's my twin flame number. Or they did know and they didn't care. Either way, that's their legal issue and their liability. 4922. There's a karmic male involved with this. Impulsive fire sign energy. They tried to turn other people against the lay workers, but it's not working. And they're being cleared out anyway. Karmics are mad because they feel like light workers are stronger. But I'm also picking up a karmic male energy who's he's in a state of delusion. It's going back and forth pretty quickly between those. And he's like, yeah, well, she's not going to like this. So it sounds like he's trying to target or plot on a divine feminine again. But I'm also hearing that it's going to get him caught up, legally speaking. Here it already has, whether he knows it or not. How? I haven't even done it yet. Well, that's the thing, is he's been, he's been mapped and tracked for what he's done. The past is catching up with him, even if he hasn't seen it yet. Oh, I told you, felt that. Sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra attacks. Yep, the stealing, hello. But it's not a secret what they're doing. Like, we know, and we've known what they were plotting. They were plotting something that they don't just give up and decide. They're not just going to suddenly be decent people. They're just not. It's not who they are. It's not who they've been. I think it would be irrational, to expect these people to suddenly be rational. I think it would be irrational to expect these toxic people to suddenly just not be toxic when that's all they've ever shown. When people show you who they are, babe, believe them the first time. Thank you. Remember to hydrate. This is such good water. So, back to that main point. He thinks that he's gotten away with some things, but the thing about that is people have been putting the pieces of his past actions and crimes together, and so they've been watching him continue to commit them while he said he hadn't done them in the first place. And if he were to try to make any future forward movement on that, that would also be mapped. It's just pattern. Anything else? I think we're good with those. Let's do this one. Because I saw these. Before I do that, in fact, let's pack a nice bowl, shall we? I feel that. I'm sending love. That's a fellow light worker. There are karmic energies here still, but thanks for clearing that out, God, Archangel Michael, and Holy Team. We'll work on that together, and I will do some Reiki in a minute, but in the meantime, thanks for being here, and also you're very welcome. I hope this helps. I feel that too. I empathize. I'm picking up that somebody's been going through some stress, which is why they're grateful that I'm here, and I'm super glad that I can help. I'm sending love. Power of the Divine Masculine. Whoa! Yeah, I just lit some Palo Santo. That always gives me Divine Masculine energy, spiritual service. Exactly. I'm happy I can help. But remember, God's got the whole world. Divine grace, the law of efficiency, okay? Initiation by water. So there's an energy of cleansing in relation to cleansing, the cleansing waters. I'm picking up something about holy water as well. Also the parting of the seas with Moses here. And I hear High Water by Bishop Briggs. Power of the Divine Masculine. But also, I was in the shower earlier when I got some of those downloads that I channeled out this morning, and then I just jumped out of the shower again when I got the other one, and it led me to discovering, like, karmic clearing. Somebody was plagiarizing my business name and made a whole website to do it. Yeah. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. Cosmic Heart and Cosmic Christ. All right. There was a message a minute ago. I didn't speak on this one, but something about somebody saying something about no matter what I've been dealing with personally, I still have made a point to come here and try to help people. That goes back into the divine service for me, though. Right? Seeking to help people clear that karmic cycle out, which we can do with some energy therapy in a minute as well. Do some cord cutting. Orbs of light, exactly. Energy therapy. It's out of a space of love. You can heal. We've got this. Don't worry about it. But honor your emotions. If you need to cry, let it go. Process it out. But I feel like for the most part, I'm picking up a split energy. Different people will be in different spaces, of course, but for the most part, I'm picking up that my light workers are either, I heard cried out, but also indifferent. You may hit a small little release period, and that's fine. Let it go. If it's coming up, it's coming up to come out. You don't want to hold that in there. So use it to release, and then let it go. Rainbow Bridge, Ascension Bridge. It's about holding your center, right? Finding that space of peace and being able to maintain a sense of stability within that. To a space of elevation. Not letting these people try to drag you down energetically or otherwise. Nobody can drag us down. Nobody. Reassurance of the golden light. And you have divine backing. You are not alone. These people thought we were alone. These karmics who were targeting people, they did. Because they couldn't see the divine spirit teams beside us or this soul family behind the scenes. Alchemical mutation. Yeah, they did not see the spirit team that was standing behind us. Divine masculine. Okay, I've got another couple of decks here before I do this energy therapy, but let's back a bowl first. some karmic energy that's trying to come through with attacks. That's a no. Thank you, holy team. Now reject that. Call for protection, return to sender. Heal and transmute. On all accords, in all directions of infinite space and time now. Somebody says, what is that noise? Grinder. This grinder is very old. How old? I don't know. I would say maybe close to 10 years, give or take. It's pretty old, I would say. Just doing the math really quickly in my head. Probably a long time. So it's probably definitely overdue to be replaced. But it gets the job done. It's just a little bit harder to crank now than it used to be. A lot. It's also dented, which affects the threads a little bit sometimes. But it's fine. I just break up the nugs a little bit before I put them in there. They're ground down much more finely than I could do with my fingers anyway, so it still works. Cheers. Somebody says, why does that matter? Airflow and efficacy. It's right, the law of efficiency. Hello. Like, yeah, work smarter, not harder, but that fine leaf burns better. So it's worth that little bit of extra grinding time. So patience as a virtue trumps work smarter, not harder on that one. It pays off longer and it pays off more in the long run. That is smarter. It's just forward thinking. That's all. Cheers. Oh, that was a good one. That one made me drool. Divine Masculine says, oh, that was a good one. Yeah, you know it's a good one when you drool. Divine Masculine says, you're so cute. I'm being serious. He says, I know, that's why you're cute. I think you're cute. That's funny. Do you know what I just picked up the energy of? Hugs and cuddles. Like either this is the twins between each other, even just energetically, or this is what, I feel like it's what they both want with and from each other. Yeah, here I just want to hug you. It's this energy where it's coming from a divine masculine. He's saying like he just wants to hug her and cuddle her. And I do think that they both have chemical attraction. Like they'd be passionate towards each other, but first and foremost, they're drawn to each other on a soul level. Like yes, they find each other attractive, but also this is why I say this. He's saying he just wants to hug and cuddle her. Not that he's not attracted to her, not that he couldn't and wouldn't want to maybe eventually be physically intimate with her that way, like sexually, but that's not... what he's saying is he feels like he will sleep better than he either ever has or has in a long time just sleeping next to her. And that's not about sex. That's about two souls feeling safe together and enjoying that physical closeness. And not, I didn't say sex, but physical intimacy in relation to just giving. I see him like opening his arms to her, and she leans into his chest and he just wraps his arms around her, and she kind of melts into him and she feels safe. And the same thing when it's like a big spoon, little spoon situation that I see, and they're just cuddled up in bed and they're sleeping very soundly. But it's knowing and feeling each other's souls close that way, hearing each other's slow breaths. There's something relaxing and peaceful. He says, I sleep better. Yeah. Who is that? Chris Young, maybe? I think it's called I Can't Sleep Without You. So he feels like he sleeps better with her. She brings his soul. This is a masculine who's saying he already knows now there is never a situation where he will want to be with anybody else, or like he knows that there will be people who maybe try to tempt him, or there could be people who try to tempt him in his life. Also for her too. He says she's beautiful. I know she has potential options, but she wants me. However, because she makes his soul feel safe, at home, at peace, he says she is my home. Her soul is home to me. He says I can't even look at other people the same. You know what? I think this is somebody, I did mention this, a visionary earlier. This is somebody who's a seer. They've got some gifts, I would say, in those higher chakras. It's a very air sign energy, not just, but like Gemini, for example, rules, yes, the throat chakra, but also the crown, or excuse me, also the third eye, big time on the third eye. Can be the ears too. Ear chakras kind of cross over with the third eye there, in that triangular section between the crown and the third eye in the throat. It's really a diamond there between the 4 points. Kind of makes her very upset. It's because they couldn't block or stop people. That's what I'm hearing. 6822. But what I'm picking up is this person is they have some degree of skill set, ability, if not to read people, then I would say this is not very common. This is a rare gift. I have this gift. It's called soul seeing. It's a different level of seeing. It's being able to see beyond the aura, beyond the essence, beneath the multiple, at least 3 layers of being, and see people for under their skin, under their spirit, for who they are to their core. I think maybe partially that's sometimes how I'm able to read people before other people's figure out that I was right and they're not very good people. Like whatever they're trying to project on the outside. I'm also an indigo child, so I'm like a walking lie detector. If something is off, like if the reality doesn't match the appearance, whatever someone's trying to project or tell me, something won't sit right. Even if I want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, something doesn't sit right or nags at me. Like I'm the person who will notice the holes in your story and go over, whether I want to or not. My brain will just
figure out the holes. And unfortunately, that means figuring out where people are lying. Something doesn't add up. Make it make sense. If you can't, I know you're full of it. Pretty much. So, I feel like this is a person, that being said, who's like that, who has that gift also, who may also be, let me get another deck, an indigo. I want to see. I can help with this. Also, since I got all those downloads while in the shower today, twice. You took 2 showers today? I heard that. Yes, I did. And they were lovely. Yeah, honor the divine masculine. See? Can't make it up. Okay. Fertility. Powerful creative energy, initiation. This is a gifted person. Looks like a crystal ball almost. But there's new growth, new beginnings happening here. Yeah, he says, I want to start a family with you. If you wanted to, I'd start a family with you. I remember being foolish when I met your mother, because she had that Irish charm. Right then I knew I'd love her. I knew right from the start when we got back to the car that you were the one. You know all my strengths and my weakness. You battle my demons. Oh, that makes sense. You know why I've had this deck out too. And you're still undefeated, my dear. Sometimes I get a little bit jaded. Smile when I'm angry and I hate it. But I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. My crush on you is never fading. Let's go back to bed until we break it. And I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. Ooh, if you wanted to, I'd start a family with you. The mirrors is a twin flame. Look how beautiful that is. The flowers. Oh, so pretty. Yeah, dreams. So these are visionaries. These both also may be dreamers. They may connect in the dream space too. Reflections. This is a twin flame connect. Look. Reflections and mirror. And it's their dream to come together. Anything else? I feel like I need to put that down for a second. Let's see. Whoa. You battle my demons. You're still undefeated, my dear. My crush on you is never faded. Let's go back to bed until we break it. And I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. Okay. extreme opposites or opposing factions. So they wanted there to be severance and separation between the twins because they felt like that would be victory for them, trying to block people from coming together. Traitors and conspiracies. And they were willing to work together to do it. I mentioned that today, criminal conspiracy. But you see, the justice scales are being balanced back out. The system is getting involved. War and strife. And they're in trouble for creating battle tactics, crimes against humanity. Right? They need to be asking God for some kind of forgiveness, I'd say. Fruitless labor. Because it was, I hear, thankless job and a waste of their time to be doing that to people. Forgetfulness and release of unpleasant thoughts. They wanted people to just forget what they were doing. They were ignorant. Like I said this morning, you can educate ignorance, but you can't fix stupid grandeur. And they were full of themselves. Now they're trying to play that tiny violin, but we're not interested. Because we do remember what they did, and it wasn't very nice. We had to alchemize and try to transform the problems that they caused and the damage that they did. You see, they were warmongering, but we get fresh starts and new beginnings because they just didn't know when to let up, and they don't have a choice but to let us go. Love and wisdom. Like, I forgive you for being a clown, but I'm not buying tickets to your circus. Not my circus, not my monkeys. But there's peace and refuge coming through. This could be a divine masculine coming in to help and love and nurture divine feminine. I just heard something about Snorlax. I think that's a Pokemon. Isn't that a sleepy Pokemon, Snorlax? Please forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I know what I'm picking up, but I don't know. I have to check. I don't know about that. But I know what I heard, so I'll take that for now with a grain of salt. Snorlax. All right. Check the stats on that. Silly. Alrighty. Just clean up my space a little bit for a minute. And then let's do this one first. There's a karmic male who's trying to send threatening energy right now. It's a collective energy, but there's also one being directed at me in particular. This may resonate with other people who speak up or have a platform as well. But it's a karmic male. He's sending threatening energy because it's an attempt to intimidate. He wants me to not only stop speaking about what I'm picking up and stop whistleblowing and channeling the truth and the facts and what's up, but he wants me to take down some of the last couple of readings or one of the readings that I recently did because I hear stripped bare and I'll lay your ships bare. See how I leave every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. Heard, I hear that. So that's that. That's, ooh, yeah, see, I just got like weird chills, cold chills. Yep. Being called to explore hand. I told you. It was automatic writing. I didn't mean to type in my username. That's not what I was trying to do. And it was in the wrong, I was in the full out wrong app. But if I hadn't done that, I was kind of spaced out in a meditative zone. When I looked down and realized what I had in my hands, that's what it was. That was the holy angel. It was automatic writing. Letting me know, answering my prayer. Because this morning, I prayed for anybody doing nasty things that they shouldn't be, that I needed to know about in order to clear the cycle or move on or balance the scales and right the wrong. Anything, any puzzle pieces that I needed to know, anything that I needed to know in order to clear karmic cycles and free myself from these people trying to cause entrapments. that they be exposed. And 2 of them came out today. One of them with a nasty receptionist at the police department, and then also this person in Australia plagiarizing my business name and aspects of the concept even. Psychocartography. Being called to explore connections to places. What did I say? Australia. Hello. Also, you know, in the bucket list that Dell and I were writing before he died, he and I were both manifesting together. Snorlax is a fat sleep Pokemon. Okay. So I think, all right, thank you. I'm getting the download on it. That's the energy of these karmics. This is what they wanted other people in, but it's giving like lazy. They didn't want people to finish their goals because they don't or they can't do that for themselves. But that's the energy that they're in or that they will be in. Or they'll be stuck in. In some cases, sick and burned out. You know, I picked up death prophecy for some of these karmics over the next couple of weeks. 3 weeks for some of them. I picked up the timeline, 3 weeks. Not because I wish that, just because that was the timeline I picked up. And I didn't pick it, it's just what it is. Clear empathy, astrology. It's just the timeline. I just know where the dates are and the calendar structure is. And I intuited it, I picked it up. So in the bucket list that he and I, also thanks for that. In the bucket list that he and I wrote not long before he died, one of the places that he wanted to go, that we were both manifesting, was Australia. He wanted to go to New Zealand and Australia, and because they're so close, he figured we would just do a joint trip. Like we'd go to one and then go to the other and then come back home. But that was on his list, so quite interesting. Yeah, see, I'm just channeling. As I was going to say, I just picked up another channel in Divine Masculine saying, you really can sue them for that. Yes, I can. Like when I typed in my business name on Google, their thing popped up. So they're having business redirected to their accounts instead of mine from what they're plagiarizing. Runes, coaching, exactly. And they've got this weird, vague website. I'm like, no, dude, that's sketchy. Yeah, holistic skincare specialist. Like I said, I was doing skincare when I got on this live feed, so that's funny. Psychometry, okay. Yeah, energy blockage release. This is in reverse, though. So the people copying me, they're not gifted. They don't just pick things up by intuiting them like I do. They clearly don't take care of their skin, it sounds like. Energy blockage release. So they're being cleared out. Claiming that they do some kind of something holistically, but no. They're stealing. And it didn't take a psychic to see that one coming. These are dark people, which is why the demon cards just came out. Because they try to snatch and steal people's creativity. That solar plexus card I picked up, see? Okay. Now, tell me about this Divine Masculine I was picking up and his gifts, spiritual decor consultant, acupuncturist. That may be your cup of tea. I don't think sticking needles in skin is mine. Precognition, I told you he's gifted. He's a seer. There it is. He's able to intuit these things. But there's a difference between being a seer and a soul seer. That's a different level and it's rare. Peacemaker, graphology. So He's a healer too. He seems like a gifted spiritual channel as well. And then also he's in touch with different locations. Clairvoyance, told you. He's a seer. Shamanism, but he's more than that. This is a different level of a gift. Scrying is like even just the way I was able to pinpoint and pick up and come across the person plagiarizing from me. Again, spiritual adornment, astral travels, because I called for that this morning. I called for exposure of any situations that needed to be exposed and protection and clearance of them, and that's what's happening. Astral travels, clairvoyance, scrying, it's the same energy. So he's matching divine feminine, though, on this note. Okay. Anything else? Let's see. I think I'm just going to do this one more deck and then we'll do the Reiki after that. But let me get some more water first. Snorlax falls asleep while eating. Oh, okay. Thanks for that. I also understand a little bit more because some of these karmic people who've been chasing after light workers are also on drugs. I talked to one of my doctors about this today, more specifically about how when they won't stop stalking, like sometimes they get it through their head, like that they're in trouble, like how this karmic male keeps going between knowing that he's in trouble and being scared about it, rarely, sometimes admitting it, but often trying to play the tough guy because he doesn't want to admit that perceived vulnerability, self-perceived vulnerability that he has, which is feeling scared about being in trouble for whatever the consequences of his actions are there. Or he goes on the opposite side, which is delusional, and he thinks that he's gotten away with what he's done and that he's entitled to do it, and he thinks it's funny and it's tit for tat and combat and like it's a game. But even if you do get it through their heads, these narcissists, that they're wrong, and maybe they do acknowledge it for a day, and maybe they do pull back because they really shouldn't be doing that. It's like, it doesn't last long. That's why he keeps flip-flopping between the two, oscillating between the two extremes, and why they get it for a second and realize they need to stop, and then they can't help themselves, and then they pick these toxic tactics back up, and it's because they are addicted to that cycle. They're addicted to the victim, to stalking, to trying to get a fix off of people like that. But Snorlax falls asleep while eating, you said. Well, people that are on opiates also often do something called nod out, which is, for those who don't know, when they are sometimes sitting straight up and they can't even keep their eyes open and their eyes will start to droop and close, that like people will be sitting at the table eating. There have been people who have actually died and drowned because while they were eating at the dinner table on opiates, they passed out and fell into their bowl of soup or something and drowned in their soup. Yeah, it's called nodding out. And so they will they'll sit up. It's very, very indicative of somebody who's either on drugs or overdosing. They'll sit up. Have you ever seen a baby who's so tired, they're trying to fight nap time and they're so tired, they even at the high chair, I've seen babies do this. They will sit there and try to keep awake while eating, but they'll fall asleep while they're chewing and their head will start to slowly drop forward. And then when their head starts to fall forward, it'll kind of shake them back awake for a second. Or if you've ever had that thing where when you go to sleep just before you're in it's like an astral plane actually. Just before you're in the space of sleep, like kind of like on an astral space, halfway awake but halfway asleep, you feel like you're falling and you kind of jolt awake. They do that, except for it's not because they're tired and fighting nap time like a baby, and it's not because they're jolting awake because of a sleep. It's because they're on drugs and they can't stay awake. So their eyes start to droop closed and their heads start to slowly fall forward, and then they kind of jerk themselves back awake. They keep doing it like that. So yeah, yeah. That's called nodding out. So I'm picking up that also in some cases it has to do with people who are on drugs. 90/22. And you know what? I also had a chat with one of my doctors this morning about how, or this afternoon, how these narcissistic people, it seems like they get anxious. This is where this cycle of pattern of addiction of stalking topic came in. They get anxious when they can't stalk us and harass or control us. When the same way that we get anxious from having to deal with them. Like they get anxious when they can't be around us, or upset when they can't be around us, similarly to the way that we get anxious or triggered when we can't get away from them or put space between us. And I asked, I said, does that have to do with attachment disorders? Like, like a detached, what are they called? They're different attachment disorders. Some people are avoidant. Some people are they get anxious, not clingy, but they get anxious when, like some people in a relationship, if they're afraid to have a conversation, they'll run away from the relationship or the conversation. But the other person, an anxious attachment, that's what it is. Anxious attachment versus avoidant attachment. But the anxious attachment person, they're the opposite. So having a healthy conversation and working out a problem and, how we gonna move together, come closer. James Bay, move together. They find peace and comfort in having those conversations, in making sure that there is no gap in the relationship, and if there is, it can be bridged with that healthy conversation. So interestingly enough, often people who have avoidant attachment are drawn to people with anxious attachment and vice versa, but it's toxic because the avoidant runs away, which makes the anxious attachment style anxious, and then they want to move towards or communicate with the person who's running, but then that just makes the runner run more. It's just toxic. Yes, thank you. Anxious, disorganized, avoidant, and secure. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's that. And then also, side note, another little fun mini psychology bit. Did you know that the different love languages, we've talked about those. Knowing those is one thing. There is quality time spent. There is gift giving. There is when you do actions for people. There are, I think, 5 of them, 5 main ones. Communication is another. And so understanding those within yourself and your partner can be important. But also understanding that people's toxic traits are typically, wounds, things to heal and work on. They're often the opposite of, I talked to my doctor about this today too, of the love languages. So let's say somebody's love language is communication. They may have a hard time communicating with people in some cases, especially, they value deep communication because they've been neglected or they've been lied to or what have you. So it's a love language for them, and people are willing to communicate openly
and reciprocally it's a form of a love language, but as a result of maybe having abandonment or betrayal or rejection wounds, it's like they don't want to chase people, and they don't want to have to tell people or convince people why the communication is important. You don't want to tell people that they should love you or how to love you. You know what I mean? If they do, they do, and if they don't, they don't. But as a result, the person whose love language is communication may not, or may have a hard time voicing voicing those things, especially if their love language on that level and depth developed out of a lack of proper depth and communication with others prior to that. So that's why it's difficult, but it's also why it's so much of a love language and it's so important to them. And the same goes with the other ones, like somebody who's been used to being the gift giver and has been taken from time and time again may be uncomfortable receiving gifts. And it's not that they shouldn't, and they shouldn't learn that and heal that, but it does put some things into perspective, especially if they've had people trying to buy their affections, doing them dirty, and then trying to buy a place back in their life by offering things, including people who try to put them in a bad spot. And then like, these are the people who will steal from you and break down your life and then offer little breadcrumbs of help and then say, see all that I did for you? Yeah, but you wouldn't have had to give breadcrumbs of help if you hadn't tried to destroy people's life first. That kind of a thing. So different people will be different, but all the love languages have that on the flip side. It's something to think about. Just for self-awareness and comprehension, can put some things into perspective, even from previous incarnations. These can be cycles that, or patterns that cycle through, but definitely from often upbringing, and it doesn't have to just be with parents. This could be anybody that you had cross associations with. This could be teachers at school or friends or family growing up, or even I'm seeing like if somebody had older siblings, maybe their friends or somebody that was around. Could be any kind of influence, but there's a lot here. Unfortunately, I'm also seeing something where somebody was bullied by their, or unfortunately assaulted, maybe like a girl maybe assaulted by one of their older siblings' friends who was an older guy or something. There's something to that. A lot of parents won't let their kids nowadays, and I think there's also something to this, have sleepovers, because while people think, oh, well, that's, those are just friends or they're parents and they're watching my child. First of all, most sexual assaults are assaults in general, but especially attacks like that, and including on grooming with children, it happens with somebody either in the family or that the child knows. Statistically speaking, in school or somewhere, they have access to the child somehow, even through somebody. And often this is why some people try to buddy up to others so that they can get access to their kids, unfortunately. And it's important to be discerning. But imagine you send a little girl to her friend's house for a sleepover because you think her mom will be there, but you don't realize that the stepdad is a predator and a pedophile. Or the older brother has some kind of sadism issues and you don't know that he has his creepy friends over and they're all practicing occult magic, and you've got little girls there that, you know what I mean? Like, stuff happens. And that's the type of thing and situation in place that it happens. And while you don't want to assume that everybody's like that, you also don't want to realize that they're like that when it's already too late and it's happened. Bet. So there are plenty of parents who say, if kids want to come here and have a sleepover, that's fine, but like, I'm not sending my kids to their house. And I understand that too. Double-edged sword. There are also people who claim to be supervisors or like chaperones, but those are the same people who will often let the kids drink and do things that they shouldn't be underage. It's just a dangerous cycle. So let's see, shall we? Get a little bit more water in this.
Thank you. Cheers. Okay, tell me about this divine masculine's gift. What did I say? That past life healing. Also, the Fae popped out. I resonate with them. So there's teaching. Either he has some things to share with the world, or he's learning. This could be somebody that watches me. If you get nervous, focus on service. Crown chakra, he's been clearing through. Told you, it's giving upper chakra energies. Crown chakra, third eye, ear chakras. See what I was just saying? I split the deck. Throat chakra, what's in that though? Behind that. You're profoundly clairvoyant. Told you, he's a seer, a visionary. I know what I picked up, and I don't need cards to read. Cards are just like adding pictures to the book. There's a healing angel here too. Yeah. But it's from crown to root. There's healing happening here. Visualize success. Told you, he's a visionary. He's a visionary. He can see it, and he manifests it down. Manifests it in. Okay. Let's do some energy therapy, shall we? Karmic says, we're going to regret not leaving her alone. Should I left my child alone? I heard that just a second ago. Cheers. I keep picking up, it's a karmic male watching me. It's not just karmic male. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. So I picked up the other day. I just heard mortician Reiki, or the other day I said that, I think that was what it came through as. I heard something about morticians while I was doing Reiki or something. And I was clearing the energy out. I specifically picked up like potential death, like death magic and death spells and stuff like that. And then today, there was an account that popped up that only pops up when this particular person who bullied me in high school stalks my account. And she is a public Satan worshiper. She's a public occultist. Like, she has no problem posting about that. I had no problem. And also a mortician. She also tried to bully me about my husband dying, and then also about being abused into complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And while stalking me, tried to say that in the comment section, stalking my live feed here on this channel, actually, I still have the screenshots, that she wasn't stalking me, which is the definition of stalking, so that was stupid. But anyway, she's also a nurse, scarily enough, apparently, 10422 at a mental hospital, which, given all of the other stuff, the mortician stuff, the targeting and bullying and abusing people online, whether or not she likes me or not, you claim to be a nurse, but you're bullying people with trauma. What kind of medical practitioner are you? I think that's just a cover and a front to get access to vulnerable patients, because you see, a mental hospital has some of the most vulnerable people there. It's typically elders or children or disabled people. Yeah, yeah, see. Because the whole mortician thing, I mean, people that practice satanic occult magic like to do graveyard magic and use dead body parts of things and sacrifice animals and even humans to try to do spell work against people. So wouldn't you have prime access to that in a mortician's office? And then also, if you want victims to try to sacrifice and what have you, that she does. That's exactly what she does. She's sick. Then she's got all those patients at the mental hospital to target who either can't get away from her, because this is, I think, like a place where they're supposed to live. It's called Dorothea Dix in Bangor, Maine. I think it's like Dorathea, Dorothea, kind of like Dorothy, but Dorothea. And then the second word is Dix, Dix. And yeah, that was alarming. The combination of all of this was super alarming. Tried to say, ha ha ha, your child's being held hostage and we have ours. Like, you're fucking crazy, bro. Mine's being held hostage by criminals. You shouldn't have kids. I feel bad for yours. She also posted a picture of her child in a scary Halloween store, and she was putting like scary masks and stuff in this baby's, in the grocery cart that she had this baby in at this store, Spirit Halloween. And the toddler, maybe like 2 years old, she was terrified. I felt so bad. She was terrified. And this girl thought it was funny. She couldn't even connect with her own child enough. I mean, I could read the child's facial expression through the screen more than her own mother could. She said, oh, she's mad because... No, she wasn't mad, dude. She was scared. You were scaring your daughter and you couldn't even tell, or just didn't give a fuck. And I think that's evil. I think that's evil. And that's just one picture. Picture says 1,000 words, but then she left a whole 3.5 paragraphs. Well, it was all smushed into one long thing, but on my comment section, saying she wasn't stalking me while stalking me, and trying to say, "Aw, did you get some PTSD because your husband died?" I'm like, no. I had PTSD. I was healing before he died. I was domestically abused consistently into developing complex PTSD, and frankly, my husband was bullied to death because he had complex PTSD also, by the same people who've been terrorizing me, who were just jealous of him because he couldn't have me, but my husband did. I mean, he was just jealous. I mean, the dude who's been terrorizing me even used to steal my husband's pajama pants and clothing. I didn't know it at the time, but I was wearing my husband's pants before I even met my husband, because the person who was pretending to be like him that I met first, the copycat to Mr. Meeker, 10822, had stolen his clothing before I met either of them. So my favorite pants that I used to borrow from this copycat of Del Rey's were actually Del Rey's. I was wearing his pants before I knew him. How funny is that? The king always wins in the end. 822, true love never dies. So, yeah, anyway, but she subscribes to a YouTube account that is put out by a mortician, because she's a mortician or has been a mortician. And also, she kind of looks like a drag queen, but she subscribes to a bunch of drag queens. And their accounts only pop up when she stalks my account. And I picked up her energy the other day. I didn't say anything about it other than just what I heard. I heard mortician. I'm picking up like death spells and stuff like that. But today I just came on to sign on a little while ago, and I have the screenshot. One of those accounts popped up, and I haven't seen it in a while. But her energy just started popping back up again. and so did the accounts. But my algorithm is set to send me content that my viewers watch, so that's why. Because she's stalking again. She's here. She's been here. And you know what's funny? They tried to project that back. I'm like, oh, your kid's being kidnapped. So they were grief bullying me over my husband and she was bullying people who've been qualified for federal disability based on the trauma that this abuse, the hostage situation, the various types of assaults that have gone on have caused. 11022. So that's discrimination. That's bullying. I mean, it's ableism at that. It's bullying people who are injured. It's bullying domestic violence victims and targeting children. And like, what kind of nurse does that? Just at bare minimum. What kind of normal, decent human does that? But yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, a Satan worshiper, probably. Doesn't that make sense now? Cheers. Somebody says, why do they stalk you? Because they wish they could be me and they can't, I would say. And on one hand, I also, let's ask, shall we? I would also say, on the other hand, let's do some Reiki first, though. They want to come see if their spell work is working, probably. It is hard to qualify for that. And when you are abused into a level of, for me, it's the PTO. They gave me dislocated bones as well, actually, but it's the veteran level combat trauma. So most people don't go through the depth of what I've been through to the point where they have the same level of trauma that a war veteran has been through. But these people cause such a war zone in my just daily life at my home. My home is my church. So they disturbed sacred ground coming to bother me here. That it was the equivalent to a soldier coming back from, say, Iraq or Iran or wherever they are, wherever they've been, that there has been issue. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's yucky. And it is hard. They want a lot of evidence to prove and show that you really need the help, especially if you're younger. They did not want to take my case. If first they were dismissive, my team said, just because of my age, because of how young that I have been, as if I asked to be so injured so badly. You know what I mean? So the reason I bring this up is because I know that I'm not the only person. Me too, actually. Yeah, so did I. And because of COVID, the dates all got pushed back and everything, and it took me like some of these criminals were interfering with court dates, but the cases got pushed back for 4 years, so I didn't get even to see a judge. Yeah, it's a lot. But what I can also prove is the damage that was done. That's their liability in a lawsuit. I've got some more legal stuff to deal with that. I'm sending love back to anybody else dealing with this. That's why I speak. I know I'm not the only one. They wanted to create problems. They wanted to make people, go through the motions of the trauma cycles. So here it is. This is what it looks like. This is what, you do to people. You wanted to hurt people. And that's your prerogative. But I went to therapy today. I went to EMDR therapy. And so I'm going to stand here and tell people, don't give up. Just keep pushing through. The breakthroughs are here. They're coming, or they're right on the horizon. I also hear the miracle occurs right at the point where you're just about ready to quit. And that came up the other day, a card in one of the readings, something about the miracles. But I'm proud of everybody. To be clear though, CPTSD is not a mental illness. It does have emotional, although there can be other things, and I'm not asking for any, you don't have to put your stuff on blast here. But CPTSD alone is not a mental illness. It's actually a physical injury. It shows up on an MRI scan. It's a brain injury. The hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala shrink. And so it's just that there's less brain there to regulate as well until we get out of that and rebuild that back. But oh, smart. It must be why you know what I'm talking about. There's abundance Reiki coming through. These people really tried to mess with people. Yeah, no judgment. I'm not, you don't have to explain if you don't want to. But just for clarification purposes on the CPTSD, yeah, it affects people mentally and emotionally, and those symptoms can also cross over with other things, but PTSD and CPTSD alone are not mental illnesses. They're physical brain injuries, the symptoms of which, again, mentally and emotionally impacting, but it's because of the physical injury of the brain. If you were to compare brain scans before the trauma versus after, there is it doesn't light up the same way, because those centers of the brain, kind of like a car accident, they're bruised or they get swollen and then they lose volume. So there's less, like the prefrontal cortex is where a lot of emotions are regulated. So it's easy to be more triggered. It's harder to come out of that trigger. The hippocampus is the memory center and the focus center. So a lot of people actually with misdiagnosed or undiagnosed trauma are incorrectly diagnosed with ADD or ADHD because their lack of focus, seems like their lack of focus or high energy may actually be hypervigilance from trauma, right? They can't stay focused because their brain is shutting down to its core point of looking over their shoulder, which seems like they're distracted, but also edgy, right? Like on edge. So antsy, like maybe somebody with ADHD, but it's often some degree of hypervigilance. Yeah. Mood disorder stemming from trauma. Oh, yeah. And then people who are trying to assert their will and their boundaries after being violated, trying to assert some kind of or regain some kind of bodily autonomy or are opposed to abuse, are often misdiagnosed with something called oppositional defiant disorder. There's a whole bunch of it, and I recommend a book called The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk for anybody who hasn't read that. It's his work actually that's being studied to the point that they're now going to be pushing for the complex PTSD diagnosis to be put in the DSM. Regular PTSD is already there, but tier 2 CPTSD isn't. So anyway, that's a good book. I like that one. But he's brilliant. His work is the reason that this is known now. I'm really proud that he pushed for this. It was kind of breakthrough science, really. Pioneer. Very smart. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he really wants to help people. What he's done is uncover like the blaming of symptoms on a much deeper cause, and you have to really get to the root of that. You can't, masking symptoms, putting a band-aid on the symptoms doesn't work. Also, I feel like that's why people often, in some cases, like they phase out of medication. It's like their body's trying to reject something because that's not the problem. Oh, he's brilliant. So, lots of things. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. He seems like he genuinely cares. Not like mad scientist, but like the whole purpose of his work is to help take that shame off of victims, help people understand that this type of abuse, especially long term, I'm getting chills, actually changes the brain. It makes those sections of the brain smaller. So we hit the prefrontal cortex and we hit the hippocampus, but then you've got the amygdala, and that's the, what is that, the fear center? The fear center, if I recall. And so that makes you, again, antsy, hypervigilant. Not that there aren't real threats, but again, if your fight or flight mode is going off, right, you have less ability to stay out of that mode because your hippocampus, your prefrontal cortex, and amygdala have been shrunk and are damaged. Then you've got less focus to focus on everything else because your primal focus has been left on reserve with what you have left to look over your shoulder and make sure those threats aren't there still, or that if they are still there, especially when you know that they're still there, so that they can't make blind attacks, which, yeah, it does leave you less space in a already shrunken, damaged cortex on whatever level, or amygdala or hippocampus, to focus and retain that information, you know? Especially kids. I keep getting flashes of kids. I feel so bad. And then the same thing with kids as that mental hospital chick. Okay, you've got this person who's practicing occult magic. I mean, she could easily even just do grimy things, like nurses are usually the ones to draw blood and things like that, or even bring some kind of satanic magic stuff into one of the rooms of the patients or something and do some weird stuff. And if they said to another ward member, oh, hey, nurse so-and-so, her name's Jordan, Nurse Jordan came in here with some witchcraft stuff. They're already in a fucking mental hospital, so do you think people are going to believe them? They should. Excuse my French, pardon my French, pardonnez-moi. But the girl already posted all kinds of satanic practice and the fact that she likes to scare her kid on Instagram. And I only know that because when I blocked her on YouTube after blocking her on Facebook, she followed me to YouTube after I blocked her on Facebook. And then when I blocked her, she followed me on YouTube when I blocked her on Facebook. And then when I blocked her on YouTube, she followed me to Instagram and sent her weird friends to do it too. Get out. So that's my concern. That's been my concern. And I did report her to the hospital. I let them know exactly what she was doing, and I sent them screenshots so they didn't have to take my word for it, because I told them that this was a danger to patients and she's a liability. Same thing I told the department about the dirty cops. Next. She has been busy. I told you I've been busy. And so that's why I speak up. It's why it's a problem. It's the type of stuff that they tried to say and do about and to me. And I feel like I'm more capable and have more capacity, more voice, more means and movement, even at the limitations and restrictions that they put me at, than some of these people, or all of those people in that hospital. I felt somebody needed to speak up. So I did. It's very sad. But you can't fix a problem by pretending it doesn't exist or sweeping it under the rug. So I call for justice and judgment. and divine intervention on that situation. Now, whether these people do something about it or not that's their responsibility, legally speaking, definitely morally and spiritually speaking. And I hope that they do the right thing for the sake of not only the liability of the hospital, but more importantly, the rights and the well-being and the sanctity of the patients and the residents there. But if they don't, I call for God to step in and serve justice on behalf of those who need it, because that is not okay. I'm getting a flash of the litany at the bottom of my website. If you go to the description box in my YouTube, there is my website, and there's a web page specifically for prayers, and you've got to scroll down, but at the very bottom there's a litany for people who are going through like domestic abuse and oppression, but I feel like this is covering that one too, so feel free to check those out. There's some good content about the divine masculine and feminine polarities as well. Yeah, some good stuff there. But the prayers, I use those prayers all the time. In fact, I've put them on 3 times today. I run the whole thing. At least once a day, but usually many more than that. Cheers. These are all just prayers that I found and used over the years, and when they're things that have helped me, I just put them in one place for other people to find useful if they so choose. What I will say though is anytime I was looking up a prayer for something, it was divinely guided. I heard some kind of clairaudience call or message or something, keywords to look up, and it led me to whatever that is, and it works for me. I'm picking up the Mother Mary. There's a Mother Mary reference in there, I think, somewhere. And if there's not, I need to go add one. So I'll do that, but I'm definitely picking up the St. Joseph. I think it's a novena, which is technically a Catholic prayer, and the concept of a novena, which is the number 9 in, what is that, Latin? Yeah. You say it for 9 days in a row. Now, there's a little clip about my late husband's dad in there. Now, he was a military veteran, and he said this for 9 days, and then suddenly got a check for the amount of money he needed to buy this house for his family. And it worked, this Catholic prayer for St. Joseph, the patron saint of fathers, or father of saints, right? And I'll say that it works. It's not just a fluke. It does work. But his father was coming from a place that was pure of heart. He was trying to buy a house for his family. And when he died, actually, his family still has the house. So it's not for selfish purposes. He was using it for the right thing, and he was tapping in for the right cause. You have to believe it, and you have to honor that energy. And I also keep picking up, I picked it up earlier today, I always say, do no harm, take no crap, remember to pray. Generally speaking, that's usually my handle, my sign off, something along those lines. Sometimes I change it up a bit, but there is a message that came through today that is always implied, but I was getting a specific call to touch on, which is you also need to let those prayers go, right? So do the work that you're called and guided to do, right? Like if you are praying for a job, make a point to go fill out those job applications or whatever it is that you're called to do. But also then get out of God's way, or at least give God the space more specifically to answer that prayer. Rather than stress about it, focus on it, worry about it. I am a writer. I hope that helps. Let me know if there's anything that anybody would like me to go into depth about, and I can work on getting that on there too. I need to go up and revamp my website. It's been a while, but I have not been focused on that. I've had bigger fish to fry. I was just called to do this too. Pull this deck. Let's see. Building connections with empathy, gentleness, and kindness. Recognize and discuss the red flags and areas of concern. Exactly. You can't fix a problem by ignoring it. Let's see. Amidst confusion and intense crisis, seek the light of understanding and resolve. Embrace intense forces, offset turmoil, and stabilize with calm resolve. This is I like this. Very on theme for the reading channels. Not surprising. Believe in the safety of your return, as every journey leads back to comfort, and in a weave of chance and choices find the path to lasting legacies. So it's about having the discernment to make good choices, separate oneself from those who are not healthy for us. Yeah, avoid burnout. So that's what that sloth energy was, or what was it, the Snorlax energy. They wanted to burn people out. They burned themselves out trying to burn people out. Yeah. Looming agenda, exactly. You've got different ideas about love and intimacy. And I said that earlier. I think it may have been in this reading that these people, while trying to chase and harass and hurt us, tried to say it was because, or no, and yes, it was in this reading, it was like a fallen masculine or something who was so used to toxic energies, whether it be from his family or just relationships, that he thought that people chasing him and fighting and competing for his attention was love, but that's not it. That was toxicity. And when he chose to stay in that toxic energy or try to put divine feminine in that toxic energy, he lost access to that love. Right? Because he was using a karmic female to try to make divine feminine jealous, because really he wanted her and her attention. But the karmic female had people on the side anyway, and so she was just using him for whatever she was using him for. It was toxic, right? And because the karmic was willing to chase him and try to get attention and just even feel validated for that, or chosen, picked, pick me, he thought that since she seemed to love him because she was chasing him, more specifically trying to compete with divine feminine, it wasn't about him. Because when she thought she had him and divine feminine was no longer interested, or when she figured that out, then she didn't want him either. She had other dudes on the side, like I said. So he thought, since the karmic was chasing him on that note, that was love, or that since divine feminine wasn't, that she didn't love him. But really she saw that what he was doing wasn't love towards himself or her, and also she had enough love and self-respect for herself to not settle for that. The 133:22, it wasn't that she didn't love him, it's that she loved herself, and he didn't seem to love either of them based on his behaviors. He didn't pick himself, but he also didn't pick her. And then he got upset with her about it, and then didn't want her to move on. Weird. Yeah, divine masculine says it's not weird, because you're the best he ever had, and he'll never have another one like you. But I hear two things. You're the best I ever had, and now I'm trying not to get stuck in the past. So there's that. And then divine masculine coming through, and he says, she's with me now, and I hope it eats you alive. He says, she said to leave her alone. I'm not gonna ask you twice. So he says, you lost out. That's my girl. She's with me now. Even just energetically, the light workers who are called to be together, who are aligned, they have already teamed up spiritually and energetically. There's a level of loyalty and commitment. Both of them may have been, they've been celibate. You know what I have been picking up though? The last couple of days, big time. Some of these occult energies. Oh, there's a new moon or something right around. Isn't there? I have to check the calendar. Yeah, I feel that. So they're probably trying with a spell work with the moon magic, I'd say, but they're trying sex magic again. No. No. Somebody asks, how do you know? It's just a gift to be able to pick it up. But also you can talk to God about that and ask for that to be blocked and cleared out. Like, yes, sometimes divine counterparts pick up each other's energy that way, but mostly lately it's been karmics trying to pull on that or interfere with that connection. On the 13th. Well, that's funny. What's the date? Picking up some numerology on that. Okay, so 13, manifesting with the Holy Trinity energy. Oh, it's a full moon. Yeah. Knew there was something shifting. And that breaks down into a 4. So moving in new directions. There's sovereignty Reiki coming through. You know what? I'm also getting... I went to put this deck away. A few days ago. And it flew out of my hand and across the floor. There was one card that came out of it. And I was called to keep it out. Valley of the Soul. Explore your divine blueprint. Unearth your soul gifts, memories, and past life karmic ties. Well, didn't I say all of that? Look at the beautiful white butterfly up at the top. I'm turning the light on so it'll be bright. Oh, and the map. Australia. Ah. She's in white. With her wings. Those are seraphim wings. There are 6 of them. You can't see them all. One of them's tucked behind her, but you've got 3 sets of 2. But she's focused on her coin here, her money, creating alchemical change. But it looks like a little fairy baby over here. It's like a birthing of new cycles or creations. So mother and child. But that butterfly is all about transformation, change. But it's white, purity. Stand by me. You will not feel this emotional forever. So I know, look, overthinking kills your happiness. I know a lot of us have gone through some really heavy cycles. A lot of them have triggered really heavy, sometimes scary for some people, wounds, if not from this life, or anxieties from previous incarnations, and emotions that have come up, sadness, anger, anxiety for some, or whatever combination. But I also know that there's been a level of a shift of drive and motivation to continue to push forward for people. So please honor that and love that and respect that within yourself. Look, I just split the deck. I love you, it says. Yeah, divine union. And so I genuinely care for people. I get sometimes quite sassy, classy, and a whole lot smart assy with with these karmics, because we've all had enough of their crap. But I keep coming back because I do genuinely love people. I just know that those are not my people, and that's okay. But they need to get a hint and a grip in the picture, because not everybody's your people, and that's fine. But you don't have to harass and stalk and be crazy and try to slander and abuse people the way that they have been. That's nuts. And I don't care whether or not they do feel like it's because situations or relationships fell out. You know what? I have had plenty of situations in life where people and I just grow apart for whatever reason, connection dissolved, and yep, some of them turned nasty, and some of them tried to create conflict and gossip and slander behind my back, to my face, both, whatever. But a lot of them never did. We just went our separate ways, realized that we both had our lives to live, and we're happy in our own space, and that's cool. Okay, so you need to get grips, plural. Divine union. So as for the rest of this, is for the lovers coming together, okay? And I feel like the self-acceptance, the radical self-acceptance, the also radical honesty, hello, for self between just platonic connections, the way I seek to come and help here how I can, even no matter what I've been dealing with myself. She checks herself and she checks me too. This is also what's bridging this higher connection of divine love. Yeah, here you've been working on healing yourself, so you're ready for love. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything together. You don't. To be ready for love or a divine connection. Quite the opposite. In fact, no, you have to be seeking higher alignment in the right space, and yeah, stand by me. You will not feel this emotional forever. Overthinking kills your happiness. But let me just sit with this channel for a second. I just read this as Valley, as it's the same card. It split the deck again, but Valley of Hope. It's not Valley of Hope, it's Valley of Soul. So keep holding that and embodying that. I hear because you didn't give up on me or yourself, you're ready for love, right? So often true love meets you at your mess or in your stress, not at your best. And there are a few things to that. Also, if you don't love me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. Or if you can't handle me at my Kali or my Shiva, then you do not deserve me at my Shakti. That's another piece. But also, sometimes, often, the twins have pieces of either information or resources or tools, or honestly, just on a soul level, they have this it does, and many are called, but few are chosen, and plenty show up that aren't called or chosen. But for those that it is a calling, it's it's not something like these people that are doing it for ulterior motive. They're doing it for clout. They're doing it because they think that they can get attention and or quick money or something like that, scamming people, whatever. But those of us who find it as a calling, 14444, even when or if it creates losses, even if it means a loss of income or business by telling the truth, whether it's whistleblowing or some kind of spiritual context, those of us who have the calling do it because it's not about those things. It's about the fact that it's the right thing to do. It's something that we inherently have a spiritual need to do because it's a calling. Right? Even if people don't like it, and even if it's not lucrative, it has to be done if it's the right thing to do. It's a matter of, it's like a core value. We cannot sit right with ourselves or have a space of peace. Like, I've lost plenty of sleep, dude, over, well, first of all, people trying to cause sleep deprivation tactics, but that's a whole other side note. I've lost plenty of sleep over my concern for the well-being of others, especially children, knowing what's going on and how people have been trying to hurt them and hold them hostage to continue to hurt them, and like the whole thing. But I don't lose sleep. I've never lost sleep over whether or not speaking up was the right thing to do. It doesn't matter to me whether people are upset about it. If it was the right thing to do, and I know that by speaking it, I was allowing some kind of justice to play out. I was advocating for somebody who needed it. I was setting a healthy boundary with people who were trying to violate others or myself. I have no reason to feel guilty or any kind of bad about that. They want people to, so they break and drop those boundaries and submit to the abuse, but I don't feel bad about that. I've lost plenty of sleep over the concern of how they're harming people, but never over whether or not telling the truth was the right thing to do, whether it upsets them or not. It's heartless to not help someone if you could. I agree. There's a line though. Also, you said give what you have, not what you need. Yes. Another way to put that is, and I agree with this, it's best to, here, givers have to set boundaries because takers have none. 1. 2, ideally you pour from the overflow, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup. So when you make sure to fill your own cup and you have an overflow, then you can pour into others and you will still not be taking from yourself. But yeah. Why you gotta be so heartless? Self-value is also important. It is, understanding and soul service, while like honoring others, of course, but also understanding the boundaries and self-discipline. We don't want to interrupt people's karma, or you can't take karma away from people. You can catch it like the flu if you get involved with people doing things that they shouldn't, or you sit back and you let them do things that they shouldn't when you should be standing up for others, especially in a situation that you'd want people to stand up for you. But yeah, on both sides, it's about discernment. You can catch karma for not stepping in when you should or speaking up when you should, even legally speaking. In the United States, there's a law called, it's just one code name, no spaces, no hyphens, SHB 1236. And it's a failure to report. So if you know that somebody is going to harm somebody, or that something is going to be criminally enacted, and you don't say anything about it, you don't call the authorities, you don't give them a chance to stop it before it happens, or intervene on it while it's happening, or do something about it and investigate it after it happens, if you knew about it and you said nothing, then legally speaking, that makes them an accessory to whatever happened, because they could have involved the authorities and they chose not to. They just kicked back and let it happen. So these karmics, these people who think that they can place karma on other people, that's not how that works. They might be creating a mess for people and trauma and drama for people, but that happens with people who are jerks like that, regardless of whether they're playing with spell work or not. And so they think that their human abuse is they attribute it to their spell work working, and then they get this grandiose delusion that they're these magical witches and warlocks, and they're just being mean. Really. Even if their energy is negative and they do manipulate things or try, it's about much more than that, because what gossip and slander is black magic. So whether you believe in witchcraft and you're doing spells, or you're just behaving and acting nastily that way, it has the same effect. It's just negative energy. And really, what's the intent of a spell? Witches use spell work to, they cast some kind of intention or incantation for an intention, but what do they want? If someone's doing a death spell, it's because they want somebody to actually really physically die. And so if that person is already in that headspace, I would say that that's somebody that's not too far off from murder. Like, if they're already psychotic enough to try to murder somebody at all, let alone with a death spell, why do you think that they would be far off from trying to do that with their hands? It's just about the energy. It's about the intent. It's where they already are. In a court of law, they call it perjury, but in witchcraft, it's called word witching. And when you are composing words, what do? You use letters to spell out words, right? And you use those words to compose a sentence, to outline a paragraph and describe something, or cast some kind of intent, right? Tell a narrative, whether it's honest and truthful or not. It depends on whether it's dark or light energy. But if you're using those words, right, spelling out words to compose sentences, to create some kind of situation, what if somebody's just casting illusions to a judge, lying to a judge? That's perjury, right? But that's also word witching. Has different names, but it's evil intent. And there is no difference, because the intent of a witch's spell is to make it happen in real life. It's the same thing. So, anyway. No, you don't have to apologize. I do appreciate that. Dolphin. Dolphins are welcoming you to a joyful vibration, giving yourself permission to play, and I appreciate healthy human interactions. Release and surrender. Crazy. This is what they wanted to say about people. Look dramatic. That they're like perfectionists, but they're crazy and they're wrong and they don't know what they're talking about. They just feel things, but there's no validity to what they say. Like, you can't take their intuition credibly, because they're hustle. They're trying to hustle people like a grifter, which really that's what they are, but that's what they're accusing others of being. That they're either like simple or nice or fake nice, right? Wrong, nice feeling. People think that, are saying that they're fake. It's karmics gossiping. Like, they're dramatic, that they're not special, they're not spiritually gifted, they're just trying to hustle people. Perfect in parentheses, so trying to claim that they're not a good person, they're not nice. That's what they're saying. I know about this person more than you do, because they don't want to see, and is this real life, that their little smear campaigns fell short. Look, peeking out from behind. Yeah. Their lies got exposed. Sacred masculine, remove your armor. There's no shame in your vulnerability. Yeah. See, divine masculine, I heard that the other day. He wants divine feminine to just be standing here naked. And so he said, let me, if you need somebody to defend you, I will shield you. You don't have to put that armor on. Not only do I want you to take it off, let me help you take it off. I know it's heavy. I know you want my help taking it off. I know I can help you take it off. I know. He says, I see it. I want it, and I want you to. It's pretty much. Dolphins are about playing. Also communication. They're very smart. Also very sexual. I'll take what you will from that. Divine Masculine's laughing. I never knew what sadness was until I lost you. Okay. You're exactly what I need in my life, and I cherish every moment I spend with you. Love all. Yeah. Trust a few, do wrong to none. Exactly. Do no harm. Take no shit. Like, I genuinely love people. It's why I come back here. We've just had enough of these karmics. And so this may not be like he lost her. This, I mean, kind of. This could be, maybe he didn't simply communicate. Maybe he held back on his feelings and emotions. I hear took it as rejection. Maybe she took it as the fact that he wasn't interested because he was seeming to play games when really maybe he was just shy or didn't want to overwhelm her or whatever. And there are plenty of cases where that's not the case. Dudes are just playing games and wasting time. But this one seems to be a gentleman. He just was, let me see. There it is. I always like walking in the rain so no one can see me crying. Yeah. It's like he was waiting to make his move and then maybe she stepped away because he waited too long or he didn't speak up or something. Love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place. Exactly. Love is like heaven, but it can hurt like hell. So when he was just kind of leaving her hanging in that limbo space, she said, okay, well, I'm going to go on my way then. I've got stuff to do. And he really, I mean, he thought she, I guess, maybe sit there. The chance to love and be loved exists no matter where you are. Another chapter has to end before a new one can begin. So there's an emphasis on clearing these karmic cycles out. And if love be madness, may I never find sanity again. Okay. I hear Crazy by Hunter Hayes. So he says, I don't want easy. I want crazy. Let's be crazy. There's also a message about him booking a one-way ticket to where she is and just like flying there overnight. Love isn't something in the music video. Love isn't something you find. Love is something that finds you. Yeah. So he says, close the gap. I hear close the gap, the distance between them. The best proof of love is trust. Yeah, so I mentioned that earlier, like, both of them may have people, because they're both, I hear, hot commodities, but they only want each other. They're best for each other. You know what? Both of these partners may be people who, not if not both, then one, at least in some cases I'm picking up, they're not afraid to commit. I hear two songs, Him and I by Halsey and G-Eazy, and then also, it was in their good era, and then also Wild as Her by Corey Kent, but originally Morgan Wallen did that one, I learned. And so both of them are not afraid to, he says she's not scared to get tied down or scared to get burned. She's just looking for somebody as wild as her. So
neither of them are afraid to be in a long-term committed relationship. They're not afraid to commit. They're just afraid to commit to the wrong person. So both of them may have been trepidatious and kind of cautious and kind of biding their time. Maybe even been in their head a little bit, which is maybe, or one of them, which is why they kind of pulled back and tried to figure out the situation, what to say, what not to say, or something. Okay. Love does not begin and end the way we think, or we seem to think rather that it does. Love is a battle, love is a war, and love is a growing up. So I hear we fight to hold on and we fight to let go. And yeah, look, it's about releasing those unhealthy connections that have been coming, between the lovers, because these karmics have been causing such stress that it's like they've been going into hermit mode to get out of it or figure it out. But then, yeah, see, I mentioned that earlier too. 16022. If you get into a space where you need to just cry and let it out, let that go. That's trying to come out. It's trying to come up to come out. It's all right. Let it go. There's also, I like this one. It does not replace EMDR, okay? But what I will say is that one day I couldn't get into EMDR. It was last Christmas because of the holidays, and I really needed to. There was some extra abuse, and it was still ongoing. So I prayed, and I ended up getting a response as a download and an upgrade to some Reiki, and they called it trauma Reiki, and my nervous system relaxed after that. It was like freaking out and vibrating, and I felt it, and then suddenly it was chill and I was calm. So this is coming through for those who'd like that. I like this one. Whoa, okay, so I see some crying. If you need to cry, it's okay. Let it go. Let it go. That is also might be, in some cases, some past life trauma shaking out, so definitely let that go. That's trying to shake out of your core muscle memory and your cells, your cellular memory, where the spirit anchors into the system and the body. There is never a time or place for true love. It happens accidentally, in a heartbeat, in a single flashing, throbbing moment. And I picked up that airplane energy, that flight energy. This may have been people who met just in passing or even online, and he said something about closing the gap. So it's like they didn't expect to cross paths or fall in love or something like that, but they did, and it was the universe. He says, I prayed for you. I know you prayed for me too. Like, not me. I know you didn't pray for me specifically. I know you weren't calling out my name to God. 16222. But no way. I almost forgot about that. Goodness gracious. There was a prophecy that's fulfilling. It's fulfilled. Interesting. That's wild. Okay. So it was divine. It was divine intervention. He says, I knew I loved you from the moment I met you. I hear you. He's saying you were distracted and dealing with your own shit and busy. So he may not have prayed for her at first. He says, no, he didn't. But he may have stumbled across her and then prayed for a connection with her after that, before she knew about it. Maybe that's why they crossed paths again, or they were drawn together, or what have you. But in this case, there's a message of them always being aligned, regardless of how it played out, by the way. I just heard fairy tale romance novel. I love this. I was just going to say, he seems like he might be like a hopeless romantic, and I hear he is. That's so sweet. He's so cute.
dreamy. So cute. So there's never a time or place for true love. It happens accidentally in a heartbeat, a single flashing, throbbing moment. I hear two songs. It's When I Pray for You and then also I Prayed for You. They're two separate songs. I think they're country songs. So, divine feminine and divine masculine, before they knew each other, were praying for a good partner, a good connection, somebody who would match them and not, belittle them or berate them or cheat on them, somebody who would respect them mutually and also appreciate them, not take advantage of them like other people had, not take them for granted, etc., or whatever their particular individual, specific, personal stipulations were. Often after dealing with toxic people and saying, nope, not that. Never again. That's a red flag. We'll look out for that next time. Growth, progress, illumination, nonetheless. There's a message of how she prayed for him. Not him personally, but she prayed to God for a good person like him, and God sent her him. But I'm also picking up that he was praying for her. Now, he may have eventually figured out who she was at all then to him and then prayed to God about her, but in other cases he was just also like her, praying to God for a good partner, a healthy match, right? Somebody who would love him the way that he loved her, and where they'd have mutual respect and companionship and partnership and trust and connection. Definitely love. And so they were both really praying for each other even before they knew. But God did. They at least figured out that they were the best matches. If their previous partners fell or something, a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person, exactly. So there's a reference of, it's like a quote online. Somebody was asking this old guy, this old man, how he could be in a relationship for so long, so many years with his wife and be happy still like they were when they first were dating and not be bored of the marriage or the relationship. And he said that he was always too busy to have an affair or even be interested in other people because he was always busy learning the different evolving versions of his wife. Like, he was never bored. She always had different facets to her personality. And through the different stages and cycles of evolution in her life, he just had more of her to learn and love as she grew and developed as a person. Subsequently. Okay. I never knew what sadness was until I lost you. If you blocked somebody on social media or you turned your socials private, somebody might be upset about that, sad about it. If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving be me. So he said, it's 9:22 again on the clock on the East Coast. Like I said, that's a twin flame number for me. But if, like the Divine Masculine said earlier, I noticed you and I, he was drawn to her and attracted to her, but she was dealing with some crap. And so it's not that she, didn't like him or wasn't attracted to him. He said she was my biggest fan before she even knew. But here before I really popped off. Interesting. Like he says, a genuine, heartfelt fan or supporter. I hear support network. Anyway. I keep getting something about family. Like he sees her as a familial support network, soul family. But he said something about she was dealing with something, fighting karmic battles or something. Not that she was causing them, but she had to try to defend herself to survive them or something. So she was busy and he noticed her before she noticed him. She noticed him, you know, in passing or as a mutual just kinship of some kind of support. But she was not focused on like dating or anything. It wasn't a rejection or a dismissal of him. It's just that she was focused on surviving. And I keep picking something about kids up, like helping her, protecting her kids or something. Saving her kids, I hear, or feeding her kids, or both, whatever combination, making sure kids are all right. If love be madness, may never find sanity again. Right, and the chapter has to end before a new one can begin. So he says, I don't care what they say about you. That's what that song said also. And these karmic cycles have to be closed out. They don't have a choice. It's not okay what they've been doing. He says they need to get out of our way. Chance to love and be loved exists no matter where you are. Yeah, he says they're taking up precious time in this life that they're not going to give back, and they can't give back, and they're not going to want to pay for anyway, not financially speaking. But it's not even about the money; it's about the principle. They shouldn't be wasting people's time. Yeah, they're trying to dodge criminal accountability and jail time and the financial damages they have to pay, but more importantly, they're wasting people's freaking time and lives, or they're trying to, and they should be in the most trouble for that. Unless you're dealing with situations with like domestic abuse and or like child crimes and whatever variety or variation of that type of ordeal, violence issues, because that's also equally important in its own right. It will never take away from that or other people's pain. Also, pain's not a competition for a number of reasons. One person could go through something that's not really a big deal to them, and it could shatter someone else's whole world for a combination of reasons, but different people have different pain tolerances, so anyway. Somebody says it's just a matter of strength, right? Maybe in character, but maybe not. Maybe it's experience, maybe it's whatever. Some people have a much higher pain threshold. I just heard experience Reiki. This is a new one. What's this one about? Pushing people into new experiences. Maybe some that you didn't necessarily expect in some ways, like answered prayers, but maybe not exactly how you thought, or who, or something. But it's a good situation. It's just, after dealing with so much toxicity, probably a little bit foreign. But this is also the opening of opportunities for new experiences, many of which have been manifested. Connections. I just heard the Maldives. Maldives. It's very tropical, I think, vacation spot. those like Instagram travel photograph book spots. It's out in the ocean. People spend lots of money to go there, get away from the rest of the world. I heard it's beautiful. It's also stormy over there. I know that some people, if I recall, have gone to vacation over there, and when they do go on vacation, which sometimes is like rentals, they may be booked way out. Sometimes it storms really badly the whole time. And imagine you've got a little beachside or like dockside cottage, rental in the middle of a hurricane. Crazy. Cheers. I hear the "I'm on a boat" song from the Step Brother movie. Hear Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. It's the world's smaller country. Kings Island. Interesting. The Maldives. So it's a string of little islands there. Yeah, that makes sense. I heard it's gorgeous, though. The spots that I've seen, I've been. But it's a weather temperamental place also. I think maybe just I don't know if there's a storm season typically, but yeah, I saw somebody's whole vacation be rained out. I don't even remember who it was. I think it might have been a celebrity. I saw just like a headline about it or something years ago. But it was pretty intense. They were kind of stuck there. I mean, you go. You go there to enjoy the sun and the ocean, and I also just heard Turks and Caicos. Interesting. And then you have to hunker down and try to survive inside. It's just not why people go to the Maldives. So, double-edged sword on that one. But they could say they lived through the experience. Made for an interesting story. It was just a headline, and I still remember it, at least vaguely. There's balance Reiki coming through as well. Hi, baby kitty. What you doing, sweet boy? Hello, honey bunny. I love you. You're just a good boy. Did you have a little sleepy? Did I wake you up? I love you. Those are nice purrs. Did you know kitty cat purrs are healing to the human body? Oh, two babies. Environmental challenges. Yeah, I would say the hurricanes that are on, I mean, yeah, the weather can get really extreme there, dangerous. You're kind of at the mercy of the storm and the sea, both of them, really.
Hey baby, you're so cute. I love your little toes. You have the cutest, you got the cutest toes. I love your toes.
So freaking cute. You know how cats, when you most islands have that issue, in fact, actually a lot of them. When you go to pick them up or put them down, they kind of splay out their toes like that. Well, mine, it's cute when cats do that anyway, but mine have double paws. And so they've got extra toes. So cute.
Oh, you're just the cutest boy. Oh, alien kitties.
Cute boys. Mommy's princess. 180/22. It's usually coastal places, and I mean, really it is. It's coastal places or islands that have the issues with the tsunamis or storms like that. And then on top of everything else, there's sinking and erosion, and then the shifting of the plates when that happens also, if that happens. Somebody's asking what the shifting of the plates, excuse me, is. It's very cool. Actually dangerous, but so let's break down a tsunami first. When the plates shift, the earth, let's say the earth is sitting like this, when the plates shift, the plates meaning the crust of the earth, they either go up and they form a mountain. So it's one ridge of earth and then another ridge of earth, and they're starting to compress towards each other. And what it really is the earth is this one big sphere, but it's made up of all these different pieces, dirt and ocean and stuff. And so it's being pulled at different angles by gravity like this in space. And sometimes that dirt and that stuff, just like the ocean tides that pull and move back and forth, it shifts the polarity of things, and the earth can change. It's like when earthquakes happen. So when this happens, you have this flat ground, or the plate of the earth, and then the plate breaks. And so one piece of it, because you've got this big shifting mass over here, let's say this side of the gravitational pull pulls a piece of dirt in one way, or dirt in one way, and then you've got a piece over here that's pushing it or pulling it in a different way, just based on the way the gravity is compressing both sides. The reason the earth is in a ball like that is because it was compacted that way through this gravitational cycle, okay? So when that happens, you've got the plates, and they either, when they are pushing towards each other and finally break or separate, they either go up and form a mountain, or they go down and they form a trench, or sometimes one goes on top of the other and the other goes down. Either way, when it's in the monsoon climate, yep, between that and the plate issue and the storms, or the sea, rather. It's both. That's what those monsoons are. Sea-based storms. But when they're in the ocean, whether it's a trench or anything else, it creates like a ripple effect. The earth creates a ripple effect. and it shakes the water, and then the water splashes up. It's like somebody when you jump in a pool and it displaces the water and the water goes everywhere, or you get into a bathtub and it again displaces the water and it rises up. It's the same thing. The ripple effect from the earth moving makes the water shake, and then it spills over the earth. It's like when you sit in a bathtub and maybe you filled it a little bit too high, and so it starts to drain out of the top thingy. Some bathtubs don't have them, but a lot of them do, where it's like a safety mechanism. You've got the drain plug at the bottom and then like a little drain at the top. So it's a fill point drain. You can't fill the bathtub up past a certain point, and so there's a second drain in the back to prevent spills from happening. So if you forget the faucet that's on for too long, or you fill it too high and you sit in it and the water rises, and it, instead of spilling over the side of the tub, it'll get into the spill drain, and then it won't overflow. You can never really overflow the tub unless you really jump in quickly when it's super full. And so 18522, the problem with islands and coastal low sea level coastal environments is they don't have a spill drain. So that water rises over the side of the tub, so to speak, except for instead of over the side of the tub and onto the floor, it drowns islands and puts them under the ocean. Science lesson for those who are confused. Not everybody is or will be, but so that you understand, and I hope that made sense. I know plenty of people know exactly what I'm talking about, so disregard. That was not for you if you know what I'm putting down. So somebody who had a question who was confused, and I didn't want them to feel left out of the conversation. It's pretty cool information. Not to sound condescending to those who know, but somebody genuinely had a question. So no worries if that wasn't for you. It was for somebody. This plethora Reiki coming through. This will open up an abundance of opportunities. The climate in the Maldives. I heard something about Turks and Caicos too. I wonder if it's similar. Yeah, that makes sense because the equator is the hottest point of the earth, and the monsoon season, it's basically like a giant hurricane. It's kind of similar to monsoons, but I think they're a little bit different. And what causes a hurricane, or I believe a monsoon actually, I wonder what the difference actually technically between a hurricane and a monsoon is. I'd be interested to know definitively. But either way, these ocean storms, the reason that they happen and what happens is that there is a difference with the temperatures of I believe it's the ocean, and the humidity around the ocean, and it does something, especially with warm climates, it spins them up into really bad storms, but it has to do with the temperature. And so that makes sense as to why the storms are so bad there, because it's so hot. Yeah, I bet that has something to do with it. Because if I recall, that's what creates a hurricane, is some issue with the temperature and the ocean climate, humidity crossover between them. I think they're similar. I think a monsoon is a type of hurricane or vice versa or something. I think there must be some kind of difference. Maybe it's because they're in such an extreme tropical climate. Maybe that's the difference. But I think they both have to do with temperature sensitivity. I'm interested to research that a little bit, actually. It's been a while. Monsoons cover bigger geographical areas. So they're like giant hurricanes, basically. They're oversized hurricanes. Temperature and wind patterns. Yeah. But that's why they are bad in warm climates. And they typically start there and they are over the ocean. It has to do with typhoons are the same as hurricanes. Yes, thank you. So it has to do with, it's something to do with the temperature and the wind patterns, yes, but it's over the ocean. It has to do with something with the ocean, and I think it's the humidity or something in the ocean, maybe. Temperature being something to do with, I would say, probably all of the evaporation, right? Just logically speaking. I'm interested to fact check this and see if I'm right, but and then the wind patterns would be all of that. I almost told you guys what a cloudburst was the other day. I just kind of intuited this as a child. It was a weird thing. But I knew that the cloudbursts that were happening were just a cloud that was so overfilled with water, it just kind of popped all of a sudden. And then turns out, I was really young when I told my mom this. I was at a playground. I still remember it photographically. Young, very young. 5 or 6, 7. But turns out when I took science class later in school, that's absolutely what happens. However, kind of goes hand in hand with that. I would say the extreme temperatures, extreme humid, hot temperatures are causing excess evaporation of the water and therefore humidity in the air, and then when that humidity gets caught in a wind tunnel or some kind of cyclic wind pattern, that's when it pulls that stuff off of the ocean. That's when it starts to create that storm. I keep seeing a tornado. I think it's kind of like that. It kind of starts like that, but it's whipping water, and that's how it starts, and it just spirals kind of like tornado. In fact, you kind of see them spinning when they give those bird's eye views on the news, don't you? You kind of sometimes see them spinning, almost like a cyclone. Some of them do. So I think that's what the temperature aspect is. I think, yes, it's temperature inclusive, but I think the complexity of it is it's over the ocean, and there's either like humidity or evaporation or something. Yeah. Thank you, holy angels. I'm just seeing it in my head, so that makes sense. I'm hearing propulsion Reiki, so this will help move people. Oh, I like this. Forward. If you've been really trying to work hard and move forward, move out of a cycle, a heavy cycle, into a healthier state of being, right? Or maybe you've been working on the same thing or same project, same cycle for a long time. And I'm not talking about the situations where you've got karmics trying to force fate. I mean, you've been on the right track, and the payout will play out, but it's been a matter of patience. I did not mean to make that rhyme. Usually I would say the payout will play off, but that's how it came out. The payout will play out. Knowing that staying in alignment means divine blessings, even if it means it seemed like you took some L's or losses, in other words, along the way. I hear rejection is divine protection, though. See, these people who thought that they were superior in whatever way, they're learning the hard way that actually the real VIP, the real goat in the situation is having divine favor and support. And some of them are not, because they still desperately don't want to believe this, but they're stuck in this state of jealousy and stagnancy. So 192.22, this is the opposite of that. This is why these types of people have been trying to block others, hold them back, keep them stuck, even just in their own head or their own lives. Propulsion Reiki. This is to move forward. I'm also getting... Oh yeah, thank you. I meant to grab this earlier. I was just thinking about that. That's funny. Like I said, they think I don't know. They do one of two things. They do both, really. They boost my engagement by doing that here, which I don't really care about. They care about it more than I do. I just let things grow organically. And they also allow me a space to showcase my personality. See, that's why they're blocked. Like I said, I don't wish that for them. It's just the truth. Let's wait on that for a second. There's also third eye Reiki, and behind that in the cube is diamond Reiki. Hi, baby kitty. Hi, baby. Warm air rises, so the humidity, it's evaporating water off of the ocean in combination with wind patterns affected by the location to the equator. Yeah, so the wind starts to whip, and as the water is being pulled off of the ocean in the form of evaporation and moving to the sky, it catches those wind patterns and starts to spin, and then eventually turns into a bigger spiral until it's a full-out hurricane to typhoon or monsoon or what have you. Yep. Dry or wet. Interesting. Never heard of a dry monsoon. So must be a windstorm? A windstorm. Interesting. That makes sense. Also, birds, when they fly in circles, a lot of people think they're just flying in circles. Sometimes they're looking for prey. But yeah, this just popped out twice. 198.22. A lot of times they're not. They're resting their wings and they're just riding the air currents, causing chaos and fights in your love connections. They're trying to. Your God-given abilities irritate them. The energy work you did on yourself is working. Exactly. That's why I've been coming here to help.
Let's do this diamond Reiki now. Ugh. Cut these cords before I do this one. And if you would like help with this, you can call Archangel Michael, who's standing right here, because he's helping with this cord cutting. But with permission alone. So, thanks, Mike. Okay. Huh, that is really fascinating. Okay. Also, holes in the aura. Any holes in the aura repaired? Okay. Here's that diamond Reiki. Also, some throat chakras. Reiki coming behind that. I feel that. Attacks at the throat chakra. Oh. Goodness gracious, it sent a shiver right up my spine. I just heard a crow call. Just gonna wait for them to be calm. Hi, babies. I love you.
see some of my viewers crying. If you need to cry, please let that be. Just let it go. It's okay. Let it out. There's like a clearance of the heart chakra and the heart space happening for some. Definitely some fears and anxieties. We have some creative ideas or projects, writers or creative blocks being released. So, a couple cards came out. You will witness their karma. It fell in the sink actually. They're being washed out. I was getting ready to do those dishes. Just a couple in there. Time to take legal action. What did I say? They're trying to tell people you're fake. I picked it all up in that one card from earlier. Yep. People don't believe them though. Because people know that they were fake towards you. And so people know that they're fake supporters. People don't support them. People do support the light workers. Be careful with them. They play dirty. There are good people around, but people know that they're grimy. They've been exposed. They don't know how to communicate in a healthy way. I mentioned that earlier. They're mad because you're highly protected. Yeah, we know. An old friend of me is pressed over some old stuff. Not my problem, boo. I told you about the bullies from high school. Okay. Salty bitches trying to get a reaction out of you for attention. No. You're popping off and they're trying to get all up in it. Someone in your immediate circle or people you cut away was trying to cause chaos and conflict. They're in their heads because they feel like you one-upped them. So they were trying to one-up you. I just picked up that that's why they wanted to try to instigate. Spending money on spells that never work. That's funny. I said that earlier. Sometimes they just come here just try to see if their spell work is working. No. They envy your skills and talents. How embarrassing for them. There's effervescence Reiki here also. I just heard Benjamin Button. Okay. Fertility Reiki as well, I just heard. Oh, bless your heart. Hope you have a good time. Divine intervention, thank you. A regeneration of self and spirit. Here, mind and body and health in general. But also soul. A karmic female saying to a karmic male, you know what? I'm being called to just be quiet about that for now. They're sweating. I'm being given the clearance to say that, but that's that. They're sweating. And I just tried to speak that, and even still I'm stumbling a little bit over those words. I'm being called to be quiet about the topic and all else, but they're sweating. That seems to be how they're feeling, nervous to the point where they're stuttering. Yeah. But Benjamin Button is regeneration backwards, if you've not seen the movie. It's like he starts out as a wrinkly old man baby, but then the older he gets, the more youthful he gets until he turns back into a baby. Effervescent essence. Blessings to all and namaste. And to all a good night. Merry Christmas. And one love to Jesus. Be mindful, guys. I'm picking up a flash of karmics being psychotic enough to, like I said, if they're willing to try to do death spells and that doesn't work, how far are they away from trying to hurt people physically? Like somebody wanting to shoot somebody with a gun or something, you need to chill out. Like, go relax. Go check yourself into Dorothea Dix. Or somewhere. Seek help. I'm not trying to be rude, but that's, ma'am, that's psychotic. Sir, you need specialized assistance. You need help. Get some, please, for all of our well-beings, including your own. It's a karmic who says, well, I've already messed up. That's not what they said. I've already effed up my life. And they didn't censor themselves. I did. So might as well. I just want to make sure to take you with me. I'm like, that's crazy, dude. You need help. This is one of those situations where if these people don't get, and I hear that they will, that's why they're being caught now and called out. If they don't get addressed, if they don't get handled, if they don't get taken off the street so they can't hurt people, these are those types of people who, I mean, what they're doing reminds me of a typical true crime story. Like disgruntled old friends or ex-lovers or people or something to do with money or family. And they're mad that a victim's leaving or getting away. And so they resort to violence. It's like, if I can't have you, nobody else can. And that's narcissism 101. Cheers. It's called the scorched earth tactic or method, by the way. It's a term that some in the field of psychology coined about this tactic that narcissists use. It was borrowed from the military, though. It's when they don't want other people to be able to use the land, so they torch it. They can't camp on it anymore either, but nobody else can as well. So sometimes narcissists do that. Like, if you leave them, I mean, sometimes they get nasty. Not that you shouldn't walk away from a toxic situation like that. Just be vigilant, because what these people are doing and what I just saw sounds like a freaking true crime story. Yuck. Crazy people. And they thought, they tried to call us crazy. Do you hear the delusion? Like, they try to sit there and call me crazy for talking to angels, but they're worshiping demons, dude. Not just speculatively. Some of these people broadcast it on freaking Instagram, and like I said, the one from earlier, I only know that because when I blocked her on Facebook, she stalked me on YouTube. And when I blocked her on YouTube, she stalked me on Instagram. And when I went to block her on Instagram, I noticed that she was posting pictures of our satanic Bible and weird mortician shit. Anyway. It's creepy. You exposed yourself, you freaking weirdo. Say less. Cheers. Heard that. You're right about me. I shouldn't be near those patients. I've been using them for bad purposes or ill. Yeah, I know. I've got sketchy vibes about it. Repeatedly. I know what you're doing. Something you shouldn't be. At very minimum. I gotta get this all of the weird. Wouldn't surprise me if she was sexually assaulting patients like a fucking weirdo. Anyway. We're not gonna get into that because that's so gross and that can turn dark really fast. But you know what I will do? This is a person or situation, this is a feed just try to short out that has no sense of balance and they are causing death and destruction to themselves. Because that's what they try to do to others. Swords, Four of Swords, yeah. Try to put people in a space where they had to heal and rest, the sun, but they got exposed for doing that. Targeting people who were just trying to rest and recover and heal from things that they didn't deserve to be put through. Cups, Ten of Cups, Page of Cups. They try to shortchange the light workers. Here, sacrifice them. Yeah, there's a karmic female laughing. We did so much shit to you, spell work and shit to you. You don't even know. No, I definitely know. I know a lot more than these people thought I did. They think because I don't say a lot of it or I don't react to it that I don't know, but some of it's, yeah, see, and like especially when it had to do with children, I know what they did. But some of it I've addressed behind the scenes with legal authorities, and in other cases, God's cutting them down. I don't know exactly where. The Hanged Man in reverse. There's no more blocking this. You see, they're trying really hard to fight it, but they're not fighting me. They think they are, because they can't get close to God. The closest they think that they can get to God, even subconsciously, is me. 8 of Coins in reverse. See, there's no more building, no more growth here. 9 of Coins in reverse. No more. No more for them. No more trying to build on the backs of other people. 6 of Wands. 10 of Coins. Having victories by hurting people. Or that's what the light workers are having. Victory. Queen of Cups. Yep. Including in abundance. But it's also, in some cases, there were water sign energies targeting people. In other cases, these people grouped together. In other cases, it was just the same Jezebel type of spirit or similar type of toxic, kind of like Banshee almost energy or Harpy demon energy, just moving from one to the next. It's like they're all just on the same toxic radio station frequency, vessels for the devil. I'm going to drop the mic right there. Please remember to pray. Do no harm, take no crap, and I will catch you on the next one. Blessings and namaste.